What is up, everyone? I am back with Silicon Secure, one of the biggest whales on the app, one of my closest friends in here. And like I said before, learned a ton from this guy. And now seeing all this stuff come to fruition, seeing the OG stuff pay off. So what is up, my man? Good to see you.
What's up, man? Hey, I just saw your tweet. Just liked it about you selling your Secret Rare Spidey.
Oh, I
Bravo, dude.
wish. That
Oh,
wasn't
wait.
me. I think I
Oh,
retweeted it.
oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. I would.
Oh.
I'm not selling that for a while.
Yeah. I was like, man, that was a quick flip because you bought that thing for under 20. So
Yeah.
you put for 50. I was like, oh man, dude, this guy's quick.
Yeah, I think that
Right.
guy that flipped it had two, and then he went and reinvested it all into Pride and a few other things too. So
Right. Right.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
selling that.
this market action is insane though. I mean, it really does feel like FOMO buying. I think people were like, they got the green light that, oh, it's January, nothing big is going to come until the end of the year, and then everyone's like, oh, I can go step on the gas and go fill my bags, right? And people are just getting ready for that immutable, real like kind of live connected ETH wallets, and there's anticipation, and there's also people like really ETH people coming in going, hey, what's this project? And we're on these spaces, and you hear, some people are saying, hey, we're scooping all this stuff before you. So, by the time you get it, it's going to be a lot more expensive. And I think the people are going, well, let me see if I can buy some gems. Let me see if I can get in the game, and make a position now, right? And we're kind of seeing that with the Grails.
Exactly. And I think honestly, anybody that's just coming in and getting one Todd or one Superman is still set. Like I still think it's a great position. And so one thing I wanted to talk to you about is like, first of all, congratulations on all the success with Todd.
Thanks.
Last time we talked, how much was Todd?
Todd was like what, $1,800 when we were talking. That was in November, man.
Yeah, 1,800.
It was like $1,899 to $200, $2,000. Maybe he had skirted slightly over two. I had a bet on my birthday, which I don't want to give away my birthday, but I'll just say I had a bet around that time that Todd would be over, over a certain price, and he was, and I won that bet. And then there was another bet for December, and it was like Todd would be over 2,500, and Todd was way over. He was like 3,500, right? So it's just, and at the time when I made that bet, it didn't look like that was even possible, right? Because people look at Todd and they go, there's 7,500 of them, there's so much supply, la, and not really understanding popularity, and they're just thinking scarcity. You can't just think scarcity only. You got to think popularity. You got to also think not even about, like, some people are thinking about just like that series one set, which is money, right?
Right.
You got the Rizzo, you got the Todd, you got the Clunan, and you got the Joe, and you got even just those pieces. That's a money set. But then you got those pieces like in a sub 100, or you got those pieces matching. I mean, then you're talking about serious money. So I think that people just underestimated that first set, and we're seeing that FOMO buying now. People always knew. They were just waiting for someone else to do it. Also, the floors have been kind of manipulated a little bit from what I've seen. There's people that are trying to hold the floors down. If you're not paying attention, like last night on Todd, even though yes, there was like an 8.3, Todd listed, and then all of a sudden there was a 7.5 Todd listed, and then there was Hulk Hogan out there who, the fake Hulk Hogan, listing a couple of Todds, and he put 4 Todds on the floor, and they're just like pushing the floors down. Obviously, if you got to think about it, if you're like a really big whale, and I'm not saying this is not me, but let's say you've got an extra $1 million or $2 million to play with, and you already have a big position in Todd, then you're going to want to get a better position in Todd, and you may have fun with it. I don't know. I'm not saying the whales are doing this, but this is how I kind of see things going down. Or maybe you're just a small group of people. You're like, hey, we want to get Todd $1,000 cheaper. We want to get Todd $2,000 cheaper. So I think people really need to understand when they're looking at the market that, study the market, because you want to know more about what you're selling than who's buying it from you. You want to know more about that market than anybody else. So, we flip these things easily, like, oh yeah, I'll trade you this for that. But like, these are grails, right? And we don't, we need to really think about them as such. And I've stopped selling Todd. So I did sell some Todd to get like a Disney position. I got 59 golden moments. I got, almost 4 sets. I got eight waltz. Wow. I got some, I got a 200 range mint. I got a couple 500 range mints. I got another sub 1,000. I got a, 1,300 mint. I got some nice mints. And so that was Todd. Thank you. And then all my golden moment positions are, I try to get some nicer mints, or, year dates, or 33 is a big deal, Club 33 at Disneyland. I just try to think like, oh, what about this movie premiere? This is when Snow White came out or something. That might be pretty epic down the road when you think of a Disney golden moment. I mean, it doesn't even matter. Even like a Wally could be important. I mean, we don't know. We're all speculating at this point. So I'm taking a position of low mints, important mints, also just quantity, having more inventory. So I made a position on Storm, and I saw her at 190, and I'm like, Storm, this is an X-Men character. I watched this whole 45-minute video that some guy made, and it was actually a really good video on Storm and how many people she married and how many comic books she was in, and like, all this whole history on why she's important. She's one of the leaders. She's an Omega. Look, I'm still learning about like how deep this Marvel universe gets, but I'll say that like if people that are the collectors see this as important, then we should see this as important because this is a unique collector thing, right? So I saw Storm at 190, and I'm like, let me just buy 15 grand worth, so let me go ahead and start making a position. So I had the 888, and then I said, okay, and I added 68 Storms, and I started off and I said, okay, she's 190, let me look all the way up to 300, get all the sub 1000 mints, scoop those up. Let me then look again and get all the nicer mints, scoop those up, and then let me sweep the floor. And let me just, by the way, show a picture of what I just did on Twitter, so people understand that, like, this is an important character, should be paid attention to, right? And we all, we saw Storm in the beginning, it pumped, right, and then it came crashing down. But it's when the rest of her team shows up, right, then people are going to be like, oh yeah, of course, we need to get the Storm. We want to take the group photo, right?
Man, unbelievable moves, my friend. And it's like amazing seeing the diversification now that you have as well, on top of still having a massive Todd position, but also understanding when new grails are coming and being able to be nimble enough to still make a position. And my question to you, like, what can the audience learn from you in terms of like, the popularity argument? Because like, just like what you saw with Todd, I was buying Nightwings thinking Nightwings are going to moon when really Todd was now 3x the price of a Nightwing. So what can, I guess, people learn from that now? Like, maybe Superman, stacking Supermans is still a great position because it's the first appearance, etc.
It's a hard call, right? Like when I bought my Todd position, I also bought, over 50 Joker FAs, right? And Joker FAs has had a tough road, over on the app, and we've seen him views. I mean, I remember not that long ago, Joker FA was a couple $100, right? And now his floor is 700. So I think that we all have kind of our positions to make, but like it's kind of hard to argue with the first Marvel release of an NFT, right? Spider-Man, for example. It's kind of hard to argue with the first X-Men release of an NFT, right? Right. Storm, right? And people, said, oh, well, I don't like her hairdo, and I don't like, she looks so robotic, and I'm like, yeah, she's Storm. She's trying to hold back. I mean, she's gonna blow up on you, right? And I'm looking at her, her hair, and it's like, yeah, that's the punk rock style that they made, and here's the date, and here's the decision they made, and here's why they did it. This is actually part of history. So like, it almost seems like there's a peak recently that Storm may actually be a significant character coming out in some of these movies or in some of these series. So I think that all of a sudden, if I'm Disney or Marvel, right, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm gonna, David, you said on the AMA clearly that there's more coordination happening between the releases and what's coming out, right? So if Storm's the first one, and if you actually read about it, then you understand like, oh, she's actually pretty important in the whole MCU, and great, you don't have that position, but like, so I don't know if that answered your question, but like it's sort of like there's a lot of criteria I take into fact, right? It's not just the common, or it's not just this. It's like with Storm, it was like, okay, out of this set, she's animated, it's FA Lightning, hey, why not? And she's like, she's the first one, and she's really, really important. And David Yu doesn't do stuff without thinking about it, right? So David Yu, Marvel, like they all have a plan, and she has the best of, my opinion, the secret rare. The secret rare, she levitates and does some sparks down. So it's sort of like if you kind of look at ultra rare Spidey right now and secret rare Spidey. Secret rare Spidey is 40K. I don't know what it is today.
It's 54,000 floor right now.
Is it really? Dude, congratulations. What a come up, dude. You got to be feeling really good about that.
Yeah, thanks. It's crazy, right?
It's crazy, right? So you look at that, and then you look at the ultra rare, and you're like, wait a minute, there's not that many fewer. It's just a little bit more than the secret rare, and it still has the animation. So if you want a first release animated Spider-Man, it was sitting there for 2K for weeks, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, go scoop one up. And I happened to scoop one up. I was actually helping a friend buy a partner statue, and she had said, hey, I put this bid on this 103 ultra rare Spidey, and but I really want the gems for partners. And I'm like, well, here, like, you bid at $4,500, I'll bid at 45.10 cents, and if you want it, I'll bid me, right? You have an option, but if you don't want it, then someone will outbid me. Like, there's no way this 103 is going to go for 4,500 gems, and the floor at the time was 3,000 or something like that. Wow. And so sure enough, nobody bid, and I won it. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to sell a Todd. So I sold a Todd, and I, had some gems already. And, and then I bought this 103 Ultra Rare Spidey. I'm like, okay, this is my best mint now. And, I'm happy with it. And then like the next day, Spidey jumps, right? Well, and anyway, that night she gets her walt, and so it's amazing, right? Like, it's a big deal when you get a walt. And then after that, Ultra Rare Spidey starts pumping, and I'm like, what the heck? And he starts moving up, and she ends up getting a 200 mint range Ultra Rare as well. And so like, but the long story short here is like, now all of a sudden Ultra Rare Spidey is at 6 or 7. I don't even know what it is today. And it's catching up to that secret. And it's like, that looks like a pretty good move all of a sudden, right? I mean, and maybe it can go down, and maybe, whatever. But I think people need to like really pay attention to the market. And so I was okay with that bet. And even though I was selling out a Todd, it's tough every time I sell a Todd. It's like I'm killing a child or something. But no, just kidding. No, it's like I take a army guy, and I'm like, hey dude, go jump on that grenade for me, man. And you're doing good for the rest of your family here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's just phenomenal, to see the ROI on the Todd, and to think that it was $79 at retail. And I mean, you must have been like one of the very few people that had it in their mind, I'm gonna stack these. I think some people bought maybe 4 or 5. I bought 18 at the time, but I wasn't convicted like you.
Yeah.
But I feel it as though you're the person that might have actually really led the charge on buying Todd, because if I'm not wrong, I think you said you called some friends, you called another guy that's in the app as well.
Our Discord, we were big on Todd. Yeah, I mean, early on when I was buying Todd, there was these groups forming on Telegram. There's like the Toddlers, the Hodlers. I wasn't active in those groups. I peaked in those groups because I knew that I had a big position in Todd. But like, they would say, okay, everyone show us like how many Todds you have. And I would just be like, oh, I've got like, 15 Todds or something. And, I didn't want to like really like, I don't know, like reveal my position at the time.
Yeah.
And there were some people that were in there like, hey, shouldn't this be like way more? Like, isn't this way more important? And I'm just like, yeah. And then they were talking about manipulating it, and I just kind of backed off. I'm like, you know what? This is not for me. Like, I believe in my position. I don't need a group to like, to make it bigger, and I don't need to pump and dump anybody. Yeah. So I kind of stepped away from it. But yeah, people had in that group, people had 25, 50, 60 Todds, and you kind of sync back up with them now. And obviously, it's a different story, because Todd was very liquid, and Todd was easily movable. Everyone knows he's important. People have swapped in and out of him 3 or 4 times. Amazing. And they're just like, he's currency at the end of the day, right? And he's like a savings account. So, I see myself hopefully increasing my Todd position at the right times for the right mints. I haven't really gone extreme mint hunting with them. Like, I have the 1, 2, 3, 4. I have the 888. I have my first, 400 or 500 range Todds that I got right off the store. Like, I haven't sold those. Actually, I shared my Todd collection with you. So what I currently have,
like you said, I think we called it Todd porn, and I was amazed by it. Yeah, and I mean, and I think the hardest part for people even now is like, let's say you're stacking jokers, okay, like 10 jokers, and you're like, you don't really understand the value of it now, but man, we're at 1.3 million users, and we didn't even say how many were really active. So imagine when we're at like 10 to 50 million active users, like what is Joker FA going to be worth then? And it's like those same opportunities that you've seen are still exist currently, right?
Yeah, it's still way underpriced in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Again, not financial advice, but in my personal opinion, it's the market is being discovered. I was just at a comic store yesterday with my kids. I'm trying to train my kids to be collectors. I want to surround them with comics and surround them with collectibles. And we go to the store and they get to buy a toy or they get to buy a comic book or whatever they want, right? So I was with my son, and this is a new store in my town. I live in a pretty small town, but in my town, and they have toys and comics, right? So I'm like, I got to stop by and see what's up. So I stopped by and I talked to the cashier and I'm like, hey, have you heard of NFTs? And he's just laughing. He's like, yeah, me and my friends make fun of NFTs, right click and save. It's all bad for the environment. Like, he had this whole narrative right down, and he was so, so visceral about it, right? He just was like absolutely against NFTs. And I go, well, what do you think this store's about? Because he said capitalism. It's all about capitalism. Corporations make money. And I said, what do you think the store's about, man? Are you guys about making money, or do you want to lose money? Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the reason why I'm here is the reason why I'm spending $100 right now with my kid is because of Veve, because of NFTs, right?
Right.
And it's the reason why I'm buying Batman, this Nightwing, guy, like all these for my kid to like train him. Like, okay, here's what a collectible's like, right? And then with my daughter, it's like, here's a collectible you put on the shelf, and then here's a collectible you play with, right? Here's a collectible you collect, you look at, right? It has value. And here's one that you can play with. And sometimes the ones you play with are more valuable down the road, but it's sort of like, here's the one you save and here's the one you play with. And so, he was just so it's kind of funny. I'm like, okay, this guy is nowhere near ever getting close to an NFT. So when he comes on board, when he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy NFTs. Oh yeah, I'm all in. Then that's when I'm like, okay, well, we might be near like a top, or might be near 20% of a top or something like that. Right. If you get those kind of guys that are so, because I went back to him, I said, look, not all projects are the same. Okay. It doesn't, not all NFT minting takes the burning of electricity for a house for a year, whatever the statement he threw out. And it's not all bad for the environment. And by the way, this plastic stuff that's being made and the shipping, right? And the shipping across the world, how much CO2 carbon footprint does that have, right? And people aren't really thinking about that. So, he shut up pretty quick as soon as he saw I had $100 worth of stuff. And it'll be my mission to go in there once a month with my kids and show off my NFTs to him. And and I gave him the comic book argument as well. It's like, where else can you read these? They're all behind glass, right? Like, how am I going to read these Babs Tars, right?
Yeah.
And he said, well, Marvel had a service and I could just copy it and download it and screenshot it. It's like, great, but you don't own it. I know I don't own it, but like, whatever. So just the fact that most of the population has no clue and has no idea, it shows how early we are. And it's very exciting to be part of history.
My God, it's so true. And, one thing I just wanted to emphasize is, like, I never thought that this was going to take off like the way that it did. This quickly. I thought I had visions for the future, but the acceleration, especially now, is just like unparalleled by anything I've ever seen in my life. Like,
and we haven't seen anything yet, man. So like, this reminds me like of early stuff, right? Like, literally lock yourself out of your account. Give yourself, this is what I'm trying to tell myself right now. Should I just lock myself out, create a new persona, create a new account, and start over, right? Start over, hustle from the bottom, flip from the bottom. And I had a friend who did that, right? And he's like, okay, I'm gonna start over. Wow. And you know what, that approach could work, right? Like, that approach could work, and you could be like going back in a time capsule going, oh crap, I've got this in my capsule, right? Pull it into the future and realize that you've got stuff that you probably would have sold off,
right?
That in the future, it's like all of a sudden that Todd's worth a lot more than you ever realized it could ever be, and had more utility than you ever realized it could have, and had more clout, and there was more celebrities on board than you ever realized were on board. And Kanye is like sporting a Todd, or Kanye is sporting an ape, right? Because we've seen the apes, they're kicking butt and they're starting their group on the Omnicongs, and they're collabing with Kozik. And I'm like, dang, I should have done something earlier when the ape was at 3. But like, I focused so much on Disney that was my thing. But I'm so proud of them, because they're connecting the community. They're creating that kind of social awareness, right? And so you have apes going Kozik and apes going with English, and if they do a collab, right, and you're part of the ape club, then it's cool, right? You're part of that crew.
Amazing.
So I could see like a Todd club forming. I could see like these collectibles each having their own fan bases, right? And so we're not even thinking that far ahead. and then we're not thinking again about, last time we talked about COVID and the impact of that. And, by the way, I'm sorry if I got beeping. I got Discord in the background.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, is it possible to? I think it's. I know you're such a popular guy.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah,
Yeah.
let me shut down my Discord. Hold on. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's fine.
No, it just beeps nonstop, man. That's just Discord for you. So
Oh, you mean like the actual chats and whatever? Yeah.
yeah, it's just alerts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try. Yeah, it's crazy, man, because I got Twitter alerts now and I got Discord alerts. And I'm having fun making videos, and it's just like I'm all over the place. Just having a good time with Veve.
It's amazing, like, to have somebody like you so involved in the community too, just for everybody to learn and to see how it's done. And I mean, if you don't mind sharing with everybody, how many total collectibles I think do you have now? Is that
I'm including comics, I'm 4 away from 2,300, so I'm like right there.
wow, it's pretty
Yeah.
big.
It's
Yeah.
not bad, and I got some guys stacks I'm happy with. Like, I got Spider-Man stacks. I don't have the secret rare, but I've got I think 8 or 9 rares, and 20 plus uncommon, 100 almost 50, 149 common. I got 3 ultra rares. Like, it's a nice stack.
Yeah.
And then of course, Batman Black and White. I still have a good stack, right? I still, it's interesting. It's coming to light to me more and more how important that set is, because it really is an epic set with 100 pieces. And David, you even mentioned on the last AMA, and people are buying the physical. So you talk to Sanjay up in Spaces, and I forgot what his handle is now. He changed to like Digital Entertainment or something like that. But you talk to him in the Spaces, and he was. I was talking to him earlier today, and he said he had like 20 from, like, he had the season 1 through 5 already.
Jeez.
And I'm like, he somehow got a penguin. Like, these things are really, really hard to find in the real world, right? And so, we're talking about like this physical to digital connection, right? And David, you had mentioned this on the AMA, which was really, I don't know if people really got it, because it was kind of subtle, right? So you had Jeremy Padawar come on, and Uncle Jeremy jump on and say, hey, what about these with toys, and love to work with you. And it was kind of hint, like major hint all over the place, right?
Right.
And then then you had David Yu kind of trying to drop the fact that these top toy manufacturers are coming to them and they're saying, hey, digital toys, right? A clone of your toy. So meaning, like, I've got, Batman out of the box, and then I get a digital NFT, and then there's some interactivity, right, between that NFT and the physical, possibly an AR. I mean, the possibilities are unlimited, right? And so you start to think about that, and then you realize, oh, these people, with the physical statue numbers and the digital statue numbers. And this week, I actually found I had a physical for someone, and then someone had a physical of mine, right, for a talk. And so, like, whether a transaction's done or not, it is what it is. But like, there is this wanting to like connect these two pieces together, right? And this is kind of the early genesis, in my opinion, of that, what David Yu's talking about, right? So in a way, it's part of history, right? This is actually, we're kind of making history in this physical to digital connection. And some people aren't really kind of seeing the full picture and how important NFTs are, and how important these digital collectibles will be. And then I see, like, for example, Batman, them dropping a bat cave, right? You have a bat cave, you can hang out with your friends, you can put your NFTs in there, you can show off your bat cave, right? You got the car, you got the this, you got the that, and you just do bat cave stuff right there. And that's your bat cave persona. And then you jump in and you're like, okay, I want to go, here's my comic book store. And maybe you're allowed to set up a store and shelving or display cases, and they're spinning around. I mean, we don't even know really any of the utility, and we think we do. And there, David was talking about adding more utility, and there'll be something more. And we saw comics pump up, right? Comics have been they've had a hard time. They're still new, but overall, people are making money flipping comics, so it's all good.
It's interesting, man. I mean, if I was thinking about this today, I was like, if I was in your position, there would be something that would be like, and this is what I love about the discipline that you have. Like, you can go turn around right now and buy like 30 super rare Spider-Mans as an example, right? And that would now be your new collection and ultimate clout, like, worldwide,
Yeah.
But there's discipline where it's like, okay, well, what's going to be a better ROI? And I think that's what people can also learn from you, is that sometimes people get carried away by the clout and, like, that X factor or that crazy cool collectible that's pumping. But like, being disciplined and being able to like hold those positions that you have is the smartest things, like your UR Storm the other day, as an example.
Yeah, you just triggered my Google. Hold on.
Oh yeah, did I?
Hey Google, stop. I'm like trying to listen to you. Yeah, no, I think that people underestimate the asset that we have, right? It's an asset. It's a just like you have assets in the real world, you have physical assets, you have property, you have vehicles, you have, stuff you own. In the digital world, crypto is an asset, right? So it's on the blockchain. NFTs are an asset. It's a form of crypto on the blockchain, right? So I think that people easily discount it as just a collectible and not realizing that because they're in this blockchain, which gives them the ability to do all kinds of things like smart contracts in the future, renting utility, creating art from these NFTs, possibly. Maybe these showrooms are essentially works of art, in my opinion.
Right.
What the question I asked on a couple of AMAs ago was, can these artists like like the Vaultaholics, can they sell me, can Tails sell me one of his rooms that he just showed me on YouTube, right? And wouldn't it be cool if I could get that template for that room, and then I have to stack to that template, right? Because maybe I don't have everything, maybe I have everything, and I can just watch it right now, and I can go play with it in real time, and this Tails, universe that he created, I get to go mess around with it, right? And then I make my remix of it, right? And so it's like that. They said, oh yeah, it's a good idea. Like, no, yeah. I mean, we haven't even thought about it. Like, I'm thinking about like opening up a club in the Veveverse where people have weddings, get married, have events, and then I'll have the portfolio of inventory where people can rent from me and say, okay, all right, you're having an event. I got designers over here that are going to go design your space, and here's the stuff that you can rent from it. And if you rent from me, you get a discount the more you rent, whatever it is, and make a smart contract. And they got it for their wedding, and maybe they want like 2888s, and I'll be like, hey, I got 2888s. Here you go display them, right? And go have fun, right? Or maybe they want a bunch of Todds, or maybe they want Spider-Man. I don't know. So but cool. If I don't have it, I'll work contracts with other people that do have it, and essentially, like, you can just think of the possibilities. And I'll be employing people in the Veveverse. I'll be employing, this is kind of how I see the retirement going, is I'll be managing my collection while I'm training my kids and my family on what we actually have, because people don't really understand what we actually have. They're still making fun of it, right? And so they don't understand the power behind this and how important this is. And when you look at what Facebook's doing and how many people in our group now have headsets, right? Like, the VR chat thing is real. I think I invited you to the list, right? And you're seeing
some of your guys' stuff. Yeah, it looked pretty amazing. I mean, and what a good inkling as to what's to come, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a utility, right? And as we see with COVID, it's flashing through everywhere, and people are getting COVID. And it's like, well, we're still social animals, right? We still need that social experience. And this 2D thing is a brick, right? This isn't how we do this, right? We like to interact. We like to be immersed in our content. And so, it's going to happen, man. Like, it's happening right now, right? It's happening right now. People are putting on headsets. We're socializing. We're walking through the Veveverse. Tasha and Orange Bag Lady and all the crew are out there, and you're picking your avatar. You're playing games together. You're doing stuff. And the way that people are like, what are we gonna do? Like, what's gonna happen? It's like, use your freaking imagination, people. Like, where can this go? Just like sit there and use your imagination and understand the possibilities, right? Like, you can actually have whole worlds. People are coming in and they're experiencing Disney, right? They're looking at golden moments. They're looking at Elsa. Just looking at Elsa, imagine looking at Elsa in virtual reality. Imagine there being an app called Veve on the Oculus, right? You can download it from the Oculus store. Like, is that far-fetched? No.
Yeah, not at all. Like, I think about that, man. And like, so here's a real question for you. And I've always wanted to pick your brain on this as well. Is when I look at like something like an extremely scarce collectible that's like, has a lot of clout, like a Rizzo, like an HQ19, like a secret rare Spidey.
Yeah.
Will there be potentially a lot of social capital that can also be built off of that in the future, where, just one of those things, because they're so scarce, limited, and may have that extra wow factor, that we can see some crazy numbers and people just having that one collectible to rent out, as an example? Or do you feel like, potentially the position, like we talked about, is just going after more higher edition popular stuff. Because that's the question I get asked all the time. Should I go buy this Nightwing for 1750, or should I go buy a Superman? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and it's a hard call sometimes. It's difficult to know which one's going to go be bigger, because even though the demand's there for the more popular one, in the same time you're in a closed ecosystem within Veve where people see that scarce stuff as really cool too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to pick your brain if like you can offer any insight. I mean, maybe they're both winners, but like my brother said to me the other day, he's like, pick anything in the app, it's going up.
Yeah. No, your brother's smart. I watched that interview with you guys. It was good to see you guys catch up, and good to see your brother. And he's doing well for himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think that it's an interesting question, because it's kind of a loaded question in some ways, right? Because my question back would be, well, what's your timeline? Like, do you have 5 years, or are you just trying to make moves in the next 12 months, right? Do you have extra time? So like the way that I see it is, you kind of, we're at the craps table. Okay, we're placing our bets, and there's different kind of bets. There's blue chip bets, and we call them blue chips because it's Disney and it's Marvel and it's name brand stuff, right? Todd, they're blue chips. We know that those are solid because we know the first NFT, we know the first Marvel release, we know the first comic release. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're pillars already.
Right.
So you could say, hey, I'm just going to focus on that. And there's some people, you look at some people and they just do that, right? They just focus on the grails. The challenge comes when you need liquidity. And the question is, are you going to keep putting money in or not? Or are you going to try to flip as well? And so if you're going to try to flip as well, then you need liquidity to be able to buy and to be able to stack and to be able to flip. And there's different kind of flippers. There's mint hunt flippers where they're on the floor nonstop, and they're just like looking for a mint, and they're buy, and they take their gems and they buy it and they relist it. Like, right, I've seen this so many times. They'll buy something for 2,000 and relist it for 10,000 because they're like, oh, they're speculating on the mint. And then maybe they'll slowly drop the price down, or maybe they'll keep it. But you have those kind of mint hunters, and then you guys have, the ones hoping for someone to make a mistake. I hope someone lists a Todd at $1.50, and maybe I can get it, right?
Yeah.
And then, so really the question is one of, do you want to participate in the app, and do you want to stay up to date, or do you want to just stick your money in grails and walk away? Do you want to start flipping for more, right? Or are you going to be content and come back in 5 years? Like,
yeah,
well, depends. So like with my collection, I realize that leverage is important in the app, and having important pieces with leverage will help me in the future. So I stacked it early because I realized that this is going to be harder and harder to get. Early on, I saw this. I'm like, this is going to get wiped out. There's not enough people. This gets to 1 million, 2 million. I just played everything out of my head, and I'm like, there's no way that this is not going to be a good thing, right? So I'm like, I just went all in, right? And I think we were talking about that in our first interview, where I'm like, yeah, I mean, you kind of asked me like getting flagged, and I got flagged by the Apple Store, right? Like I had purchased over 25 grand of gems in the Apple Store, and they flagged my account, and they're like, sorry, you can't buy gems. I'm like, it's broken. I can't buy gems.
Right.
They're like, sorry, you need to like call Apple and like make sure you're not a money launderer, and we're going to probably do an investigation on your account. So, and Apple was probably shocked because, Veve rose to the top quickly. If you look at the charts of how much was spent in the stores, Veve rose to the charts pretty quickly, and people were spending, I'm sure, David, you can run a report and tell us, but like, thousands and thousands of dollars in those early months, because they were like opportunists, right? They're like, okay, I didn't invest in the coin, but they're like, I invested in the coin early. I was part of the ICO. When this comes, I'm here, I'm at the store, and it's like being at the candy shop or the toy store on Black Friday, but it's like you and 10 guys, right? And you're like, okay, let's just like take the place down. And some people did, and some people were like, okay, I'll get one of these, and I'll get one of these. So there's different strategies. Some people were going for full sets. Some people were going for, and so there were the full set collectors, and I was starting to do that early. And then I realized like, well, I don't really want the full sets. I want more leverage. So I want to have like, I'm okay with not completing every single set. And, I kind of, some people kind of look down at that. They're like, oh, you're not completing every single set. You're not part of this club, or you're not, you can't participate with us here. And I'm like, that's cool. But what I'll do is I'll stack up the grails. And so I'm like, I'm going to go buy, 150 Todds. I'm going to go buy, actually 160. I'm going to go buy, 50 plus Jokers. I'm going to go buy 80 Joe Mads. I'm going to go buy, I'm going to go stack. I'm going to go buy, like, I think I still have like 80 plus Darwin Cooks, right? And he's actually started to make a move. And he was 30, 40 bucks not long ago. And now he's 140. So like, think about those kind of moves. Like you can 3X and 4X. people want it. It's funny because people want to time it right. And I get it too, because I feel it. Oh, I could have, or I should have, or if I would have sold it on this day and it would have went up. And then, like that's too hard to calculate. Like the trend is up, my friend. No matter what the trend, like your brother said, the trend is up. So go stack it, because guess what? It's going to get harder and harder to get. And the only way you'll be able to play with these things or look at them is by renting them or borrowing them or having a friend with one or whatever. And we're not even talking about, kind of like any future utility right now. We're not even thinking about what's possible, right? What happens if Disneyland says, hey, you know what? Every golden moment set holder, which I still think there aren't that many of, we can, I wish David, you would publish a stat somewhere.
I know
he won't, because it'll skew the market, but if you could tell us how many individual accounts have at least one golden moment set. And I'll tell you, my guess is less than 1,500 individual accounts have more than one golden moment set, meaning I'm working on my fourth, but like how many people just have one, right? And so that set just by itself could be your retirement package.
Yeah, shit, that's a great point. Yeah. And my friend said that recently as well. He's like, because he's like, it's 22,000, I think right around there, 22,000 to 25,000 to complete. And he's like, and then if you give it like 5 years and it does a 15x, well, there you go. I mean, that's good enough for most people to say like, I can comfortably live now. So it's just incredible, the opportunities at hand. And so here's another question for you. So right now, like, let's say you had $10,000, okay, and you're coming to this app. And this is where it can be confusing. I'm like, okay, do I get 3 Supermans? Do I go get something that had like an ultra rare Spider-Man or something that's, more limited but popular? And I think what I've learned from you is it's better to see something that, is a big FA that may have a few more mints, but we know it's really popular and it didn't catch yet. But with the amount of users pouring in, it might be better to buy 10 Jokers as an example and wait till they hit, 4 or 5K or
for the value. Yeah.
For the value.
Yeah. Look for the value. I mean, even Joker at 700, it's sort of like, and you look at Todd at, $8 grand or $7 grand or whatever he's at.
Yeah.
And you're like, that seems a little off, because that's Joker FA. I know he's not part of Series 1, and people are like, oh, Series 1. And I get it. Right. And there's also this argument about like, like Rizzo versus Todd, which I think is really interesting, which we'll talk about that next. But kind of going back to where to stack. I mean, you want to stack where you can get leverage. Like if you're a Marvel fan and you thought, okay, X-Men is it, then go get X-Men. If you think that Spider-Man is still in a price, well, go get Spider-Man. If you go find something else, like there's people in our Discord that you're a part of that, like Steve Rogers, right? And this one guy has 400 Steve Rogers, right? And I got, by the way, I have 14 in full disclosure, but like these guys are like going nuts, right? Because like I get it, they're trying to get future leverage, and for me, it was like I'd rather stack more into Spider-Man, like so I stacked more into Spider-Man, right? But you got to make a play, and if you saw that Stevie Rogers was chilling at $8, $10, $12 forever, and you made a play on him, and now he's $100, I think today or something, or 95 or something. No, more than 100, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like up to 125 at one point.
Yeah. And those people that own those stacks are going to keep supporting their stacks. Just so I keep going and buying, a Spider-Man if I see a good deal. I'll go scoop one. I don't care what minute it is, right? Or if I see someone, and I see this happen, I see people floor like a Todd. Like I saw someone floor a Todd, or it was a couple thousand above the floor for like a sub 1,000 mint. Then I'm like, I need to buy that. And I buy the Todd and I floor one of my other Todds. And I'm like, here you go. You guys go have this. I'll take the sub 1,000. And you're kind of constantly be playing the game and thinking of the plays. Like you can't just like say, this is my strategy and that's it.
True.
I do have some regrets about selling, Todd, of course. I mean, it's like, well, he's a grail. But at the same time, it's like I built this golden moment set, and I'm like, I'm sure that's going to be golden. So is it taking time? Yeah, absolutely. Some of these floors, again, are being manipulated a little bit. Some people are just like, whatever, it's too expensive to sell them. You go sell a golden moment, and it's going to cost you over $1,000 at the current floor price and market fees, right? So people are getting creative and stuff like that. But I think that it's good to have options. That's really what it comes down to. It's good to have options. Like I haven't really sold any of my sub like 100 mints. I haven't sold any of my special mints. Like I'm holding on to like my better mints right now. And I haven't like, I've floored some stuff, but like, looking forward as the floors move up on these things, well, then those special mints will move up as well, right? So I have multiple plays in action. So if I had 10 grand, I would probably pick up at least, half of it, I'd pick up a grail piece. The other half, I would go all in on something, like pick something
Yeah.
like Marvel Common. I think that's still cheap. Like
Right.
I have like 30 to 40, but I have people that I know that have stacked hundreds and hundreds of them. One guy has 700 plus Marvel Commons, right? What a good move. Remember that was $3. I mean, it was just, there's so many I mean, if you got it for, let's say, $10 and it's $200 now, I mean, that's a 20x.
It's amazing, right?
I mean, people don't have enough patience and enough, if you do your research and you make yourself feel good, you'll sleep at night. You realize this is my position and this is what I'm gonna stick to. And maybe something else will pop up. It's more important. But like right now, I have like absolutely nothing for sale on the market. I have, there's no sense of urgency. I'm happy with my position. Like I'm just watching it move up every day, and it's moving up and down by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I'm just like watching the meter, the Comey Wiki meter go up and down. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's cool. Like it's trending in the right direction.
Right.
I'm not panicking. The market could crash. Yeah, MTL could happen. You know what I've also noticed? There's always some FUD out there. There's always someone fudding something about the project in some way. You prove them wrong. You're like, yes, we got immutable, the real NFTs. And they're like, yeah, but no MTL. And then you're like, like there's always something. And I'm like, you guys are a bunch of fudders, man. Like you guys need to do your research and need to understand where this is going. And by the way, there was never any MTL in the original design in the first place. And David admitted that, David, you admitted that on the last AMA, that this was never designed for a cash out, right? So the fact that they've adapted and they realized how important that was, well, you're welcome, right? So it's sort of like,
and I think they discussed that too. Like they were planning on doing more like only to NFT or something to that effect. But it's like, you're right, man. And I mean, like the best thing about these flutters though is that it kind of hindered the process a little bit, so we had more time to stock up.
But I mean, it hurts, but it does hurt people because like for every seller or every buyer, there's a seller, right? And if I know people that have sold out, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, don't sell out now. Like now's not the time. We're just like, what's happened?
Right.
A year's passed by. Not even a year's passed by since I joined. I joined in March. So it's been less than a year. Why would I sell out of my position now? If I have more conviction now than I've ever had. Right. You got to keep researching your investment. You got to stay on top of your investment. Now, if you're not in the community, if you're not talking to people, if you're not watching the markets, if you're not participating, then yeah, maybe you might get like a little, freaked out. But if you understand what you're doing, you stay on top of it, you go to the AMAs, you do your homework. I mean, again, I'm more confident than ever. I see more business possibilities for the upside right now than I do for the downside. Even for me as a brand, right? Or for you as a brand, right? Like us as brands, because guess what? We're in the game, we're playing the game, we're doing this nonstop. I see concierges coming over to Veve, right? So as David Yu says, on one of his AMAs, the one that you did with him with the Collector 9000 interview, he's like, yeah, there's people coming to me looking for the magic numbers, right? They're looking for the whatever, the 888 or the 88 or the sub 1000s or the this and that, right? So I believe when the big boys come, like, they're coming, they're here. You see Dr. Profit, like, he spent money. He's a market maker, right? He's spent money, right? I estimate he has hundreds of Todds and over 100 Rizzos, and no joke, and probably a couple hundred golden moment statues, partner statues. Wow. just the partners. Wow. Is what I estimate he has, because he last showed us a screenshot a while ago, right? And then he's got a ton of OMI. So he's a 10-figure, 9-figure. I don't know how many figures this dude is, but he's got the capital, and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna splash around in this pond. I believe in this project. Disney probably brought him here, or whatever it was that brought him here. And we're so lucky to have whales like that. And people go, oh, whales, but they provide liquidity because they're market makers. Like, you want to make that money, well, someone's got to buy it from you, right? You want to sell that, well, someone's got, like, it goes both ways. So you want to sell or you want to buy, someone has to be willing to sell and someone has to be willing to buy. So I think that people need to understand that. And so for him to be collecting as much as he does, which again, I estimate is probably over 20 million at this point, is I think that, that's a strong signal that he's a big believer and that these whales are believers. And we're not here to just like, oh, let me just crash my part. You think he's going to drop 200 partners on the floor?
Never.
No. Hulk Hogan, maybe. Okay,
yeah,
but
exactly.
with 13 collectibles, he's gonna drop 4 Tods.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
gonna drop a Rizzo, and he's gonna drop a You Are Mickey. Let me think. Are those key pieces? Like, who the hell is Hulk Hogan? It's part of some manipulator account, right? So it's kind of funny, right? And
yeah.
so I think that people need to really understand, and I think that there is fear, right? It's easy to get fear. It's easy to get scared. It's a lot of money for certain people. It's emotional, right? Whatever. But like for me, it's sort of like what like
Yeah. And
it's like why I mean I've put 6 figures in, right? Like I put money in, and it's like this is great. I'm just getting started here. This stuff is just barely getting utility. This is just and we're seeing some of the older collectibles like the Moogly, which I was willing to trade for for a secret rare Spidey. It sounds like no one took a bite of that apple. I have a number 85 Moogly. But you look at that and you start looking at it and you're like, oh, people are like, yeah, but the image is older and grainier, and I'm like, yeah, exactly. Just like the the punks, right? Just like these older projects. And so here you got something like a Moogly, which is a first secret rare. It's whatever, and they're really probably not appreciating like something like a Spider-Man. It's getting a lot of attention, secret rare, or some of the other ones. But eventually, with 188 pieces, and it being the first secret rare, and maybe a Ghostbusters fan likes it, and then like maybe a sub 100, excuse me, that could be $1 million piece.
it could be. And all you need is the right influencer or person buying it, where it's like you said, all of a
Yeah,
sudden, they get the right traction behind it, and the whales come in, and that's what they want. And if there was one thing I learned about Pokemon collecting, is people want the best of the best.
right.
Like they wanted the Charizard first edition Shadowless at a Gem Mint 10, which was like 250K plus. And
Yeah,
it's like, okay, that was the grail. And then after that, you had Pikachu Red Cheeks and stuff like that were kind of cool. But there was a few things that really stood out. And like you said, some of this old stuff that, because the thing is, as much as there's going to be new scarce items, like I think it would almost be unethical to be like, here's one drop this week, 188 editions, 20 plus million users on the app. Like I feel like some of this stuff
right.
is obviously they're still going to be scarce, but and have a level of collectability. But and maybe there'll be some one of ones like they talked about. But I just think that scarcity will play a major component.
It's a flex piece. It's scarcity. It's season one. It's the first of something.
Yeah.
So and same thing with Donnie. Why Donnie's where it's at,
Yeah.
and some of these other collectibles. Now they're not as liquid, right? And that's something that I thought about early on. It's like, well, do I want to have all these pieces? Like I could have moved in a bunch of these pieces, but then like now I'm like backing myself into a corner, right? And I'm not liquid. I can't make moves. The whole point about buying 150 Spideys is like maybe when he's like, a couple grand, I floor one, right? And boom, I have liquidity. Yeah. And I can go make a $10,000 move on a stack and then pull the same thing again and keep stacking, and the rich get richer, so to speak, right? So leverage is really kind of what I'm thinking about, but also the appetite for that collectible. Like, tell me how the first ever Spider-Man collectible is not valuable, right? Tell me how the first ever NFT is not valuable. People are always, like you said, going to seek that out. You see Paul Logan buying these boxes of Pokemon cards that he's like, oh, I spent I don't know how stupid amount of money for this box of cards, and he opens it on YouTube, and people go, it's amazing. So, but why he's spending that kind of money? Because it's the first box, first series, whatever it is, the first collectible for Pokemon, and he has a chance at getting some of the most expensive pieces in there, right? Possibly. So I mean, I think that people aren't playing it out. It's hard because when we're so close, we're like this on the app every day, looking at it. It's in our face, and we're on it, and we're looking at market action day to day. But we need to start zooming out and have longer term goals with our investments, because this is an investment. Whether people are treating this like a stock. You own a stock of Walt. You own a Walt. You have one of 4,333 Walts, right? And so if you're going to treat it like that, and you're going to spend that much money, spend 13,000 gems on a Walt right now, or whatever he's at, 14,000 gems. Okay, then you better know what you're doing. You're not just going to go in there to go flip a Walt, right? Maybe you will if you know what you're doing, but like maybe you got to learn the game first, right? And the game, it costs money and it's experience, and you might lose some, right? And nobody likes to lose, but you got to educate yourself and understand what you're buying before you buy it. and realize the history and be willing to commit to it, and then be willing to be there for the long-term vision.
Right. Man, I love these points that you're bringing up because, somebody that has just like a good portion of money they want to invest, like, and they're like, I want to get one walt. Well, you got to think about the fees after you sell that being like probably $1,500 and all these different things
Yeah.
kind of consideration. It's like, you're better off. And again, this is again where the discipline that you had is so remarkable, because I know if you came in now, you'd be like, okay, what's a position I could take, like Marvel Comics #1. I'll buy up, 50 of those and wait till that appreciates to 1,000,
Yep.
sell it off when I have 50 grand, then move into the next position and then slowly scale, right?
And people will be coming to me saying, oh, you got 50 Marvel ones. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. How did you know? Right? Like, it's $200. Like, it's the first comic released. Like, it's a no-brainer. And so, like, yeah, I have to pick, but I'm also supporting my existing positions as well, right? So if Marvel 1 dips, right, or if that's was my strategy and it dips, well, I'm going to double down, right? I'm going to go more into Marvel 1.
Right. And that's the thing that people forget. And like that's the famous quote with Warren Buffett, right? It's like,
Yeah.
Be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. And it's like that to me has been like a life lesson. Is like, because we've had a few major dips on Veve before this boom.
Oh, guaranteed there's always going to be a dip, right? You're like, I'm betting for the dip. I'm betting for the dip. Of course, the dip's always coming. You know how many dips I've been through, but you know how many ups I've been through? Like, and the trend is going up and to the right. Right. Like, even my Murmurcorno and Unicorno stack, which I haven't sold out because I'm like, I'm not selling a Unicorno first series season 1 for $40.
Yeah.
40 gems. Like, why would I do that? Right. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, this hasn't appreciated. And I bought that for $12.99. Right. So, like, whatever. Right. And people are like, oh, I'm gonna sell all this and then put it on this and do this and do that. What I realize is the more you try, the more chance you have of losing. Right. So, you have a winner.
Yeah.
Then double down on your winner. Like, I saw Prima Donna at, there was 80 in the marketplace. I think I bought a couple more to make it match. So it was like, I had 80, there was 80 in the marketplace and it was 80 gems. And I'm like, that's cool. Let me go ahead and screenshot that. And, but I had 70 something Prima Donna. So, like, I bought more, right? Because, like, yeah, I don't, I'm supporting my Prima Donnas. I believe that, in the real world, the physical world, this thing is more, it sells on eBay for $600 or $700. So I'm going to keep supporting that position, right? Because nothing's changed, right? The Tokidoki collectors just don't even know what the heck we are. And there might be that one raging lady that was upset that, she didn't get invited to the mailing list or know about Veve collectibles and the AMA. I don't know if you remember that one, but outside of her, like, there hasn't been very many people, talking about Tokidoki at all. And, I'm looking at their website and they're like Sanrio, and these people are like minting stuff. They're doing collabs. They got collabs like Marvel. I'm like, what? How? Like, okay. And so those countries, as David, you had mentioned, and we talked about this on our last interview, but those countries haven't opened up yet. Like, would you use an app in a foreign language? Like, maybe, but no, you're not, right? Those people aren't going to download something in a language they don't understand. Maybe some of them. And I still think that we have less than 5,000 to 8,000 people from China, for example, in the app right now, right? Very few, if even that. I don't even think it's that much. But, it's good. It's a small group of people, and you're talking about a country of, billions.
Yeah, like they have a 1.3 billion population. That's, what's that? About 4 times the size of the States, right? So
it doesn't need much. And you got Disney Shanghai, you got Disney Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Right. And I went and watched. So this is the kind of stuff I do, because, like, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So with my 4-year-old, she likes to stay up, and her thing is, oh, let me watch a show with you while I go to sleep, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I can't put a cartoon on because, this kid's gonna like stay awake. But what I can do is I'm gonna put on some Disney history thing, right? So there's all these shows on Disney Plus about, like, the history of Disneyland, and I learned about the World's Fair and how the first rides got in there. And so I'll put on one of these shows, and she's like, oh yeah, it's about Disneyland. And then, within about, usually about 20 minutes, she's snoring her way, right? Because this is pretty fucking boring. So like, I put a show on about the opening of Disney Shanghai, right? And it's on Disney Plus, so you can go watch it. And I'm watching this, like, amazing show they put together. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking about this. I'm like, none of these guys, none of these people know about Veve. None of these people have an NFT. No one. I'm just thinking, China loves Disney. China has 2 Disney parks, but no one knows anything And if they knew, would they? Yeah. Yeah. And you know, David Yu's working through the regulations with MTL. And but meanwhile, the smart ones are like, hey, this Veve thing, they're always looking to get their money out of their country in some way or another. Let me go ahead and figure out how to park some money in here, right? So we actually have a whale that's in China, and he has a pretty big stack, right? And he was the one that, you know, you could buy from early on to get these collectibles, and he was smart and he just kept a lot, you know. So, you know, I think he's close to 4,000 collectibles. So there's
And
some
Disney's a sleeping giant, like you said, right? And the thing that, you know, you mentioned this to me as well, is like how sensitive the IPs they gave us in their first round. It wasn't like, guess what, here's a tier C NFT that we've done in some like show. It was like, here's our two Grail pieces. Here's Walt and Mickey in one statue together. Here's Steamboat Willie. You know, it's like, here's Elsa. Come on. Like, do you not think that this is like a major collaboration with Veve that is going to be, you know, far more advanced in the future? And it's like, I think that's another thing that you informed me about, is like, these are sensitive IPs, you know?
Right. I mean, Disney knows more about you than you know more about them, right? If they're going to do business with you, they're going to background check you and your neighbors and everyone about you, because their IP is the most valuable thing that they have, right? Those characters are extremely valuable. They control the narrative. They control everything. So for people to think, Disney's, you know, like, I remember when it was like, oh, if we could just get Marvel. Remember that? It was like, if we could just get Marvel. And then we got it. And then it's like, oh, if we could just get Disney. And then we got it. And then it's like, oh, win Pokemon. It's like, come on, people. Like, do you understand what's sitting right in front of you? Like, you keep pointing at other places, but you need to start looking and understanding what's right in front of you right now. And yes, some stuff is expensive. Like, you're not going to go get a Walt if you're just walking in with 10 G's. You still can't even get a Walt, right? So, you know, but what, could you get like 3 Elsas? Could you go pick up, you know, a good mint Elsa and like, you know, then flip it later? Could you make some moves? Yeah. And that's what's amazing about Veve, is the opportunities are there for everyone. Now again, I think that people misunderstand the drop. Like, I have some family members and like, oh, I can't get a drop anymore, and you know, this is kind of depressing. And it's like, no, you know what that means? That means that the drop is a bonus and the market activity is the opportunity, right? There's opportunities where things go up and there's opportunities where things go down. And so like with Storm, when Storm dropped, I bought an 888 ultra rare, right? And I'm like, okay. And that was a buy, and I paid the cost for it. And I bought an 88 secret rare. I'm like, okay, I'll pay the cost for it, you know? and so I'm like, you know, me and my 888s, I have my little thing with them. And it's this, you know, the way I see it is the more I get, the more powerful they become, kind of thing. You know, it's like this kind of growing thing. And but you know, I'm not going to get like super nuts about it, right? Like, there's, you know, I'm not going to get completely insane. So so long story short, I saw Storm coming down, and I'm like, you know, the market had hyped, it had pumped, it had sold out, and they had moved on to like Christmas and everything else, right? And then I'm like, you know, and I saw Coca's epic as well, but did I stack in? No, I'm like, I'm waiting till after Christmas, and I'll take that risk, because, you know, like who's going to be showing off their snow globes, like your brother said, in July, right? Like, no, you're going to move on, right? Like, so I saw an opportunity with Storm. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, people are just, they literally are giving this away. And I'm totally cool with taking it, right? So I, you know, and that's a market. I'm providing liquidity to the market. I'm a market maker. I made a position. I said, look, you guys want to sell this? Sell it to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that movie Wall Street, right? It's like, okay, you know, here's a tip on, you know, this thing, and it's like, sell, you know, everyone buy this, everyone sell this, whatever. But like, sell it to me, because this is being underappreciated. And I'm sure other people were stacking it too. I mean, I can't be the only one, right? But you know, now I have 96 ultra rare Storm, right? Because I'm like, you know, and that thing to me is pretty fun. Like, I can't wait to try to set it up in a showroom. Maybe I can get all the Storms like hitting lightning at once. You know, I don't know. I tried loading a bunch, and the app crashed, and I know that there's some limitations on my phone. You know, I got a newer phone. I got that Pro 12, but you know, maybe you know, they said they're going to do some improvements, right? So like, you know, I got to wait for that, but it's going to come. I'm going to, you know, have some crazy showroom, or I'm going to hire someone to make me a crazy showroom with my collectibles, you know, when that's a possibility too, right? And that's the other thing is, you know, people making revenue in the Veve, you know, the knowledge you're learning now is a skill, right? So even if you sold out your account now, just like some people, they sold out their account, but they come back to VV because they realize, oh, this is another opportunity again and again and again that VV is bringing. And I have a skill and I can go hustle, I can go build some stacks, and I can go make some money on VV. I can trade, I can do stuff, and I can build a position. All of a sudden, my stack again is worth, a couple $100,000 or whatever it is, right? Like people can make moves. And I think when the MTL thing happens, people are like, oh, money's going to leave. They're going to probably limit how much you can withdraw unless you have so many gems. They're not going to be like, okay, yeah, just take out $1 million, No, that's not going to happen, dude. It'd be like, you could take, 2,500 a week or 10,000 a month or whatever it's going to be, right? And then people are going to be like, oh, I should have bought collectibles, and they're shoved back in collectibles. Like, it's so, dude, the moves are so obvious to me. And then also with OMI, right? Like OMI's been flat. My OMI stack is still low, but I think it's going to pump. And so I'm not FOMOing into OMI really, because the way that I see is my collectibles are OMI. So when OMI pumps, collectibles are going to pump. And then if I do decide to sell, then those people will be buying with their OMI, and they're all going to be rushing in towards collectibles. And then I'll just have kind of a position of like, well, what do I want to do, right? Because I'm not in a rush for liquidity, because this is a hard asset. Like I mean, liquidity is nice. Liquidity is important for like cash liquidity.
Yeah.
But I also want the long-term capital appreciation of these collectibles. That's another factor that people need to think about, is like, you're holding this long-term, so you're not going to pay the same tax you would as a crypto, right? This is an asset.
I totally agree.
Who knows how taxes are going to roll? That's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's the other thing I think the way that I'm seeing it currently is that, until you actually start cashing out, then I believe it'll be taxed. But in the interim, it's because, if you think about some of these flippers, I mean, they'd be like negative $400,000 in tax.
Yeah, you would be so screwed. But then you got to also think of it from the other. So definitely tax is an interesting one. I think we'll learn more as we go. And the governments, make their moves, and maybe certain people move to Portugal. You see people move to Portugal because there's no crypto tax. You see people move to El Salvador because Bitcoin's legal. And I think that the countries will figure it out, because they don't want wealth leaving their countries, right? Like at the end of the day, they don't want money leaving. So they'll figure it out. They'll hopefully make it right.
So
those countries.
Todd or Rizzo, what do you think?
You're pulling a Lewis Morgan tweet.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was funny because there's a couple arguments for Todd versus Rizzo. I mean, obviously I thought Todd because that was the opportunity I took, right? And obviously if I was here for Rizzo, I would have stacked Rizzo as well. But Todd definitely stuck out to me as a special piece because it was the first piece. So yes, the first set is important. Okay, if you can get all four, wonderful, congratulations. And Todd has another factor to it though, on top of the set, right? And that's the thing that I think that not a lot of people are thinking about. They're thinking about just set collectors. Okay, but not everyone thinks like a set collector. Like I don't think like a set collector. I have a broken 100 set, right? Like I don't have all the 100s that are out because I'm making positions and I decided to burn this or burn that. But I'm making calculated bets, and the fact that my items may be worth more than what people realize. So with the Todd versus Rizzo thing, I think that Todd does have popularity as well. And there's also more wallet holders of Todd, possibly, right? 7,500 versus Rizzo, I think 1,750.
Yeah.
So with that popularity contest, and also in my opinion, I mean, looks better. My opinion, and it's Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
Right. So the way I see it as, yes, you have the set, but like when the set's out of reach, that value of like that Rizzo is kind of going to flatten out, in my opinion, and Todd will keep rising because of popularity and because it's more available, right? So maybe it'll always push Rizzo, but I still think that the ROI is going to be better on Todd, even right now, right? Like if you bought a Todd right now at 8K and the Rizzo's at 16, what's likely to get higher? Like maybe they'll flatten out. Maybe like Rizzo will be 500K and Todd will be like 450K, right? Yeah. But like, what's the better ROI there?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm thinking as well. And I think the other part is the bigger social capital piece too. You can argue, guess what? This is an OG, like the one of one that came first. The only thing that I like about Rizzo is that it could always piggyback on Todd.
That whole first set, right? The whole first set can piggyback off each other. Like, and that's why I picked Joe Mad. And that's why I'm like, okay, well, Joe Mad was still in the store. I'm going to stack 87, and I bought from the store all 87, most of them, except I flipped a few. And for up better mints. But overall, that was my strategy. It was like, well, Joe Mad's still available. And, I think Joe Mad was available after Todd sold out. I'm pretty sure. It was. And so I was stacking Joe Mad's like mad. and then I think it was Darwin Cook was last. and I was stacking I was telling everyone, go get the Darwin Cook, man. Like it's still going to have a good ROI, right? And if you sat on it and you bought it at whatever 49 or whatever, I mean, then you tripled your money. So it's still not a bad ROI. And guess what? As all these things move up, people are then going to come in the app and try to make a move. And so they're gonna be like, hey, Darwin Cook, and they'll be like, you know what, he was an award-winning artist, and la 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 la, and whatever, and they'll find a reason, and they'll surround Darwin Cook, and they'll pump his ass up too, right? So like it's just like everything has its play. It's just shooting off at different moments, and people want to try to time those moments just in time. And I think that is the mistake that people are thinking. They're thinking too short term, and they're trying to do like these exact flips. And some people are doing well, but that's more gambling, in my opinion, than investing. Right. And that's the difference, is there's gambling and there's investing. Gambling is like trying to do something where you're trying to time it just right, and you're trying to like hit it just right, and you want to make 20K in a week or something, or make 100K, like do this crazy flip. Where investing is sort of like, well, I know this is good IP. I'm going to wait for the right time to buy. I'm going to scoop up some stuff when it's the right time, and I'm going to make an investment decision. And I'm going to be like Warren Buffett, like you mentioned earlier, who back in the day bought silver at $5, right, and then sold it at 20 or whatever, and was he upset about his position? No, he forexed it. Like what I'm saying, like there's an opportunity for everyone. The question is like, do some people want that, they think like okay, let me just go for the secret or Spidey, which I think is great, and that's a great move, and you made a freaking amazing move under 20K. Like you bought it right at the right time, and now we're at 50, right? So that's almost a triple, right, on a secret of Spidey. But then are you going to sell that? No. Because you're not, right? Like, how are you going to sell that? You're not going to sell that. But if I made that same position with ultra rare Storm, right, and I don't have a secret of Spidey, so I don't have the bragging rights, but now if I want to like peel some off, I can just sell a few Storms, and I'm peeling a little bit off. Now I think that to fast forward, I think we'll have fractionalized NFTs, so you'll be able to take your secret rare Spidey and say, hey guys, I got one of the 1,000 here, and we already have fractional NFTs right now. If you go to DApp Radar, you click fractionalized NFTs, you can see that, right? And you can see the ETH rock selling for like whatever they sell for, and they peel off pieces of the ETH rock, and you can get a piece of it, right? And so I see the same thing happening with these collectibles. It just takes time, and as we're just talking about individuals investing. We're not talking about institutions.
That's right.
We're talking about retirement funds, taking a little piece and saying, hey, we would just want 1% and crypto.
Right.
And then do we think that, maybe of that 1% in crypto, we want, 5% in NFTs? So I see there being, multiple opportunities with more money flowing in. People are going to flow in. It's an asset. It's a digital asset. People are going to want a piece of it. There's going to be early, entrepreneurs there with funds and things like that. And there's already action happening now, like with Beeple's collection at 69 million, that was bought by a fund and investment fund, right? So and he's like, this is worth, I think he said this is $1 billion collection. so I mean, if you're buying it for 69 million, right, you got to think, well, are they buying in and just speculating for 69 million, or are they going for like the money, and they're going for the money, right? So this is how it works. And consider, I think if you're on Veve right now, you understand any of this, anything that I'm saying, or even 10% of what I'm saying, you're in a unique spot, right? You have an opportunity to make a play in an area that is new, being discovered. People are still speculating, trying to understand what the utility is, trying to understand what the future impact is. If Veve is still going to be around, like to me, like, I don't, I'm pretty strong on the team, pretty strong on the company, pretty strong on the app. Will there be problems? There's always problems. Yeah. Do they take care of them? They work their way through them, right? Like, do we need more patience? Absolutely. Do we need more time? Yes. Are we going to get more time before things pop even more? No. I mean, Todd's at 8K. Like, do I think that Todd can get to 15? Yeah. I mean, it might go there faster than I realized, right? Things are accelerating.
Yeah. And I mean, this is where anybody that's like, kind of fighting towards what this project is, I'm like, okay, as you said earlier, we're just getting started right now. Like, people are they're just literally hearing about Veve and going, oh man, like Secret Rare Spider-Man's only 50K. What? There's only 1,000 in the world. Like, it's just iterative, right? When we go to ETH, and when we have the new ETH whales that are used to paying like $9 million for CryptoPunks, Like,
Yeah,
what do you think, a Spider-Man first ever Marvel NFT limited to 1,000 editions
they're
for an
laughing.
appearance? Yeah, like it just doesn't make any sense that that wouldn't be at least $150,000 asset. So when people are like selling now for like 45K, I'm like, I don't know if you can see the vision. And I remember I bought mine for 17 or 18,000, and everybody was like laughing, being like, that's crazy that you'd even consider that. And I was like,
Oh, dude, I remember tweeting at you going like, dude, congratulations.
yeah, exactly. I was like, what an amazing entry. You know,
Yeah.
that was my thinking at least, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, and it had dipped, right? Wasn't it like the higher 20s?
Yeah, it was 25 and it dipped back down
Yeah.
to like 17. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it was perfect timing, dude. Like,
Yeah.
and you got the liquidity, right? And liquidity is important. I think that's the other factor is, having some positions of being ready to attack when you see the opportunity. Like maybe it's that mint that flies by that's only going to be there for 10 minutes, and that's the mint you've been waiting for, and that you've been looking for that mint. And if you get that mint, you have a 4 set matching set, right? And how much is that going to be worth, right? Like, so I think you need to have some to be ready, and not back. That's the key, is not back yourself in a corner. If you're going to back yourself in a corner, then fine, back yourself in a corner with the best. And then if you don't have any more liquidity, then leave the app and just do the drops, right?
Right.
But like it's hard. It's easier said than done, right? Because even with me, again, I had to jump on golden moments. I had to jump on Steamboat Willie. I got 7 ultra rare Steamboat Willies. I got I got some commons. I got special dates, right? Like I don't have like a big stack. We have some friends that have 100 commons or whatever, in 10 ultras or whatever they're doing, and some people have 20 plus, whatever. But at the same time, you can back yourself in a corner. Some of those people are like, hey, will someone just buy this off of me because I need to make a move, right? And all of a sudden you're trying to discount a $4,000 item that should be 10,000, but you're in a position that you don't have a choice, right? And so I think that people need to understand that as well. Like, yes, you want the best, but you also want some stacks for burning, right? In some way, right? You had to flip some things.
Exactly. Wow, this is why I love having you on the channel, man. And
Dude, I got so much positive feedback. I mean, you're just awesome, dude. You're an easy to talk to guy. Like, I like the fact that I feel like we're just across from the table here and we're just talking about Veve, and your channel has been amazing, and I love all your content. And I got a lot of positive feedback on that last interview.
That last interview has, I think, 13,000 views right now. It's
Yeah.
like, just for perspective, like the chat I had with David Yu has like 14,000. So like, and that was like advertised by everything, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
and people really enjoy, I think, this natural conversation. You and I just bouncing ideas off, people listening to you, learning from you. And the other thing I really want to stress too is like these edition sizes are small. Like Superman
Right.
under 9,000 editions for a worldwide demand when NFTs are mainstream. I mean, like when we think about that, like people that are looking at these sizes now, and the people that foresaw this with the Marvel Comics #1, I think is a perfect example. When it was $3,
Yep.
60,000 editions, people going, this is crazy. 60,000 editions, now 250, will definitely be over a K soon, right? And
Yeah.
and so like that's another thing too, is like I just feel as though people still are not getting that concept. They're looking at something like a Superman, but they're seeing this other scarce items, and it's like, listen, like this is a grail here. Like you don't miss this opportunity. Not trying to.
Yeah, you see something at a price and you get comfortable with seeing it at that price, right? And it's easy to I don't know what the word is. I'm sure there's a psychological effect of this, whatever it's called, but we're humans and we're used to seeing patterns, right? So we look for a pattern and we're like, okay, I go to the grocery store and a gallon of milk is $5. I go to the grocery store, a gallon of milk is $5. I go to the grocery store, the gallon of milk is $5. I come back and a gallon of milk is $100. What the fuck, right?
Yeah.
What just happened? And so I think that people are used to that kind of, in that real world, looking for the same patterns and like, okay, yeah, this collectible is going to be this price and this price and this price. And all of a sudden you go to sleep and you wake up and someone made a run the floor. Everyone FOMO'd in. They were waiting for that position. The people that had gems and were awake, scooped the floors up, and then all of a sudden that collectible doubled in price overnight. And you're like, what happened, right? And so
I'm talking about that right now because I was like, okay, like Robin's a perfect example of that today.
Yeah.
I think it hit 4.5K floor
for Robin. Nice.
Yeah, now it's back down to 3.5, but it was at a 4.5K floor
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just like But like you said, we've been seeing Robin at like 1.8K since like the,
$900,
yeah,
800, Robin, I mean, it's FA Robin. That's all you got to say.
Robin, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that people keep trying to pinch to like the grill at the moment, right? But at the end of the day, it's hard to choose because everything's a grill. So I think that like in some ways you need to go with what your fandom is. If you absolutely love Catwoman,
True.
then go all in on Catwoman, right? And then go sell to your Catwoman friends if you're in a club and you have social circles or something.
Yeah.
If you absolutely love Batman, then focus in on Batman. That's your thing, and you're gonna know about Batman more than anybody else. You're gonna know about the key dates. You're gonna know what the key mints are that are gonna match up. You're gonna know the history of Batman. When you see that thing pop up, and all of a sudden someone sells the, I don't know. I mean, it's not going to happen probably, but the 1988 of another Batman, maybe it's not, or the certain date that matches with that cover, right? Or if it's, if you can map it back to something important, Marvel's date, right, or whatever, or DC. I'm sorry, with DC's startup date, or when Batman first appeared, or something like that, right? Then you'll be ready, right? Because you'll know about your space more than anybody else. You'll be focused. You'll be hyper focused, and that's the thing that people need to do. You're not going to get hyper focused on a broad amount of content, right?
So,
Am I going to know everything about Adventure Time? No. Am I going to know everything about Disney? No. Luckily I have family. Am I going to know everything about Batman? No. I do research, but the ones that I have big positions in, I've done extra research and understand, so that when I see those mints fly by, or I see that opportunity come by, I know it's an opportunity, and I make a move right before anyone else makes a move. And then 6 months later they go, oh, how did you get that? Or what did you do? Like, wow. Like, and it's like, no, like I did the work.
yeah.
Just do the work. People need to do the work and treat this like, the investment that it is, and treat this like seriously, like you would treat your bank account, right? It's not a game. I mean, it can be, it's fun, right? But it is a game where you can win lots of money.
That's right.
So if this is it, if you're just complaining all the time saying like, I'm doing my day-to-day thing and I'm tired and blah, 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 well, Veve is giving you an opportunity to possibly participate in something that's historic.
Yeah.
And 2, that you can actually make money on, and 3, that you'll have expertise at, that could be a useful skill for the future when these OG, or big money players come in and they want to make moves and look for mints. You might know who has those mints, or you might be able to do a trade because you have a relationship, right? You may be able to be a concierge for them and help them build their collections.
And that's the other thing now that's on the way, probably, right? Like multiple concierges and different consulting firms. And I mean, who knows, maybe you and I start a consulting firm, like,
I mean, yeah, Veve, give us a call, man. We'll be happy to jump on board, and you get customers and we'll be happy to give them a tour. And we get certified as Veve concierges, and we help them match those mints, and we help them negotiate, and we help them go through the market. Because just like stocks back in the day, you had a broker, right? Why did you have a broker? To protect the investor, to help guide them in the right direction. Now, I'm not saying like I want that responsibility, but these are people's money, but I can give them my opinion, and I can say, hey, here's what I think. And Chad, you'd be like, here's what I think. I'll be a Veve NFT advisor, right? Like at the end of the day. And if you're going to spend $1 million or $2 million or $3 million or 5 million or 10 million or whatever million, or anything really above $500,000, you probably want to understand everything about what you're buying, right? And try to play fast forward things ahead. And I say these numbers and people are probably laughing, going like, I'm not going to ever get close. But I think that that's like saying, Bitcoin when it was early was never going to get close. Now I'm doing that comparison because it is an extreme comparison. I'm not saying we're Bitcoin, but look at the price of that secret rare Spidey. It's above a Bitcoin for sure.
How crazy is
right?
that? Yeah.
Is it? I mean, I don't know what Bitcoin's at today, but
yeah, like let me check right now, because I'm curious, because I was like, last time I saw the price was 54,000 for the secret rare Spidey. So let's see if it's holding. Because I think at that price too, people get a little excited. They're like, oh, that's some fun profit, right? So
yeah, but it's also gems, right? And I think the other thing that people need to understand is there is some trading happening with gems in the background. Some people are buying, a gem has always been $1, but some people are discounting those gems, which is still kind of a little confusing to me. The ratio was tight, but I think that, David, you said some countries won't be able to MTL. So maybe that's a reason for people to gem out or sell discounted gems. Maybe some people want crypto instead and they don't want to MTL. But there is quite a bit of disparity. I mean, you can get gems at a 60-70% discount, which is insane.
Pretty insane. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just wild.
But I think the good thing too is like even when the MTL does come, even if it's limited to some countries, that would still probably change the gem rate, right? When you cash out. So I think that's good too. So at least that way, if you are going that route, you probably have a likelier, closer to $1 US, right? So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I it's funny because I thought at one point I'm like, I want, yeah, cash out. But like at this, that was really early. But at
yeah.
this point, I'm like seeing so much about this coming together and how much we don't know and all the hints that we're getting. And I'm like, I want to be part of this. This is like history in the making. Like why would I walk? Would you walk away from like Apple in the garage? Would you walk away from Hewlett Packard in their garage? Would you walk away from, like just ingenuity and genius?
Yeah. Never.
Because it's in the app. Like as much as we complain about it, we're here, we're using it, and we're buying stuff. So you can complain all you want, but you're still buying, you're still trying drops, you're still in the app, you're still playing with your collectibles, you're still trading. So that's for a reason. When David, you in your interview, in the Collector 9000 interview, he seemed generally concerned about how much time people are spending on Veve.
Yeah.
And he's like, to a point where it almost sounded like he said it was almost unhealthy, right? Unhealthy amounts of time. Like people are on that app. You roll out of bed, you check prices. You wake up at night, you check prices. And something like a Todd, it's kind of funny. It's like our Discord group. They're always like, "Oh, what's Todd at today? Oh, Todd's up. Oh, Todd's down." It's like, come on, guys. Like you can't live like that. Like he's going to be appreciated or underappreciated or whatever, but he's going to keep pumping because he's a grail. And whether the market understands it yet or not, he's a grail. He's the first. He's very important. So and I think the market's starting to see that, obviously. But it's just kind of funny because he sat at 500 gems forever. He sat at he was in the marketplace and was one of the later sellouts, right? Like look over and over and over again, and people still aren't connecting the dots on a lot of these things. They're not seeing the future, not playing it out. They're just looking so short term. And I think that there's a game for that, but like the game for that is more gambling than investing, right? And so like the question is, do you want to gamble or do you want to invest? And I'll go back to that because people act differently if they're gambling or if they're investing, right?
So interesting that you say that because I've personally done some gambling when I'm like, okay, let me time this to flip this and then get into that. The
Yeah,
difference is, I think, is that your position is so diversified and so there's not much stress there, like for you, because it's
right.
like something goes down. But other people that have like won a grail and are trying to flip into a second are like doing the timing thing, trying to chase all day. But like you said, often yeah, okay, you can get lucky, make a wicked move. Like if you bought, for instance, three Cat Bronsons or something at 5K, you went to 15K, sold it off for Rizzo, anything can happen. But at the
Yeah,
same time, you could have went and bought the wrong thing that went down to 4, flipped out of that, went into something that dropped to 3. And then now you're in a worse position than you started. And you took 12 hours, right? So it's like,
yeah.
I agree with you completely. And I love the investing part. And like, that's for me, like I remember one time I was considering flipping out of my partner temporarily and then better judgment came and I was like, okay,
Yes.
like
I was
you,
actually asking you that because you're pinging
yeah,
me too. I'm like, really, you want to do that? Like,
yeah, because I was trying to get like, because I'm trying to diversify as well, and I was trying to do a timing thing because I was like, well, I think people aren't flipping Disney as much because of the fees, and so I
right.
was like maybe this I can do something in the interim, but I was like, if they drop like something tomorrow and there's a gem squeeze, you know what I mean? There's so many
Yeah.
things that can happen, so it's like,
Yeah, or if they add extra utility to that partner statue or anything, any kind of clout, any kind of like, is it that far fetched that that wouldn't be a significant, hodl? Like, if you had that a year from now,
yeah,
that Disney wouldn't recognize the fact that you're one of their first NFT holders.
yeah,
Like, I mean, maybe not, maybe it takes a while, maybe never, right? But at the same time, amongst the collectors, it'll be clout, and amongst the collectors of Disney, which are huge, and the economy is huge. I have no idea how big Disney Anna is, right? Like all this collecting stuff for Disney. But and I should probably research that some more, the physicals. But I can tell you that the fans are fanatic, and it's a lifestyle for them. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to collect some Disney stuff. It is a lifestyle. I wear the Disney pants and the socks, and I got the Disney purse, and I've got the Disney backpack, and my kids wear Disney, and their wallpaper is Disney, and their crib sheets are Disney, and it's all Dumbo, or it's all like it gets insane, and the amount of money gets poured in. So like, if I want to go, like we heard about, I think it was Sean O'Hare on
yeah.
Twitter, he gave a partner statue to his mom,
How cool is that?
right?
Yeah,
Like, is like
yeah,
amazing, right? And
yeah,
mom's not going to be selling that off.
Yeah.
right? That might as well be burned. That's partner statue might as well be burned, right?
Yeah.
Because mom's like, yeah, oh yeah, my son gave this to me, like, but like, you got to kind of think about how emotional attached people are to these collectibles.
Right.
People that grew up with Disney, people that grew up going to Disneyland with their parents, the feelings that they had, right? The emotions, the connections that they made, watching the cartoons growing up, right? Some people might go nuts for Lady and the Tramp, right?
Yeah.
You don't like, you need to start like thinking like these collectors and be in their worlds. That's the for the long-term positions, that's how I start thinking when I think of mints and I think of things. I'm fully immersing myself in their worlds and what they want. If I'm because I want top dollar, so then I need to get the top dollar mints.
Right.
I need to get, you know what I mean? I'm going to want the best. I want to hodl the best.
Amazing.
So I need to look for arbitrage in the market for these special mints and these special things that people are going to connect to and have that emotional connection. I think that's the key, is that the items that are going to rise the most are going to have the emotional connection for people.
Yeah.
And people need to really understand that, and understand that, family and connection and Disney and the hunger, the love or whatever it is, right? Maybe this reminded them of, maybe Bambi is someone's favorite movie, and so that mint is important. Or maybe, the year the movie came out, or maybe, something's important. Maybe Walt's birthday is important to someone, or the first Disney, like all these dates and all these mint numbers actually mean something. I think that's an area that I've seen that, there's been more awareness lately on this stuff, but people aren't really, they're like, oh, like I bought the 330 common Mickey, right? And I paid 3.6 K when the floor was, $400 or $500.
Right.
And so I sent the video to a few of my friends, and they're like, I don't get it. Like, what is this? Why did you do that? You passed up all those sub 100s, because I did the scrolling of the video. They're like, you passed up stuff at 2K, you passed up stuff at 1.5, way lower, right? And because they're thinking low mint, low mint, low mint.
Right.
I'm thinking special mint, special mint, special mint. So when I think 330, I'm like, that's the only number that looks like 33.
Wow. Yeah.
Outside of course, 33, which I'm never going to get, obviously, unless David, if you want to give it to me, please, someone, Disney, send it to me. I'll be happy to hold it. But it's only one that just looks like 33, right? And
Wow.
and so you think about that, Club 33. You think about, okay, if Walt Disney was a Mason, the 33rd level of the Order of the Masons, right? Like there's some significance behind that. And that's not going to be for everybody, right? That's going to be for the insane top notch. And I've seen these guys, and these guys spend money. And this is how I'm thinking it. Like I'm gonna have like the mint antique store for Disney or whatever, or whatever I'm collecting, right? Like I'm gonna have this, do whatever I can to make moves on these mints, right? And that's a long-term hodl. I mean, that's gonna take a while. So it's not like that's not a flip. I'm not gonna go flip that right now.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the beautiful part to that and what you're saying is like, when we have that amount of saturation and the amount of collectors coming in, there's going to be somebody that's going to want to pay top dollar for that piece.
Yeah.
And that's exactly interesting. Like that's exactly what I said to my friends too, is like, as an example, my buddy has the 131 Todd.
Yeah, nice.
And at the time, he got it for 3.1K, and I actually bought it for him. And then he gave me the gems, and then I just literally, my other friend and I talked to him, and we said, just never sell it, like, because for an average person, like 3K, like even for myself, like that's no joke. Like you take 3K out of my day-to-day expenses, like like it's not a joke. And so and now, like where the heck do you think that would sell for? Probably near $30,000, right? Currently, and then imagine what another year does from now. And so but it's those specific pieces. Like you can get a floor Todd, but if you just take that extra little bit, think about what would be important to somebody, and think about the relevance within that collectible, like you can make some major money. So I appreciate that, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are doing that. They're looking for the 777s, the 222s, the 1224s, like they're out there.
The key is not to back yourself into a corner. Like you have to have enough liquidity to make these moves, right? If you want to keep participating in the game, if you want to keep mint hunting and you want to keep buying, which I do, I enjoy it. So it's about like playing these bets out and then going, okay, eventually I will sell a Marvel common Spider-Man. People might freak out, right? Because they're like, oh no, Silicon Secure is selling a Marvel Spidey common. He doesn't believe in it anymore. No, it's I'm taking some off the table there. And then, he'll have to be over 1,000 probably, or 800 to 1,000, somewhere around there, at least, for me to even think about it. And then, maybe I'll mint upgrade, right? Like I did with Todd's. I saw Todd's that were slightly above the floor. I'm starting to buy these. I'm like, okay, I'll get rid of my 4,000 mint. Let me get a 2,000 mint. I'm playing out in the future for a couple hundred gems or whatever it costs. I'm like, this is worth the upgrade. And I'll upgrade because, at a 7,500, even though obviously everybody wants sub 500, people are coming to me saying, hey, where's the sub 200? I'm like, good luck. It's a whole different world down there. The sub 200 God, right? And so it's like, I'm looking more for value, right? As people are, they're justifying flooring a Todd saying, or they had it for sale when Todd was, 4,000 not that long ago, like just a few days ago or whatever, a week ago. I don't know. I don't keep track of it like exactly every day, but you're looking at the prices and Todd was like 3,600, then he was 4,500, then he was, now he's 7 to 8,000 gems.
Yeah.
And so now there's stuff for sale that's actually low mint. There's opportunities right now as we're speaking for someone to make a move on a lower mint Todd that it probably just hasn't been repriced, and people are trying to raise the gems to scoop those Todds up and flip those or hodl those or something, right? So yeah, I mean, I have some friends that are doing really well in the Discord that have flipped into like the 252 Spider-Man comic. I have a good friend, Ham Jam. He made some moves and he took an ultra rare, made some money, flipped it, flipped into this and made like 20,000 in a week. I'm like, bravo, dude! Like, that's amazing. And he knows the space, right? He knows and he's looking for like the higher end stuff. So shout out to them and my VV Discord army and all the people that are there.
That army chat is like, those guys are all legends in there, man. I learned so much just by going through the Discord in the day, and I'll like just kind of like, there's someone I'll sometimes pop in and talk, but for the most part, it's just so interesting seeing everybody's perspectives. And I find like when you're really involved in the social media, it makes these convictions that you have by yourself so much more greater, because you're like getting validated on the daily, being like, yeah, secret rare Spider-Man is important. Yeah, partner statue could have Disney theme or Disney park access or whatever, right? And so when you're not the only one thinking about it, it makes those decisions a lot easier, right?
Yeah, and that's what makes you special, right? Because Chad, you're not just a talking head, right? You're not just making videos. You're in the market. You're hustling. You got that secret rare Spidey, right? Like you're seeing the gains. You've got some
key pieces,
experience, right? Like people they understand that like you're not just some dude, right? You're not just talking about VV. You're actually doing it. And I think that's what separates, we saw like a lot of flack about, people reaching out to the VV community and spaces got sensitive over certain things. I think our community is really growing and we'll see people come up. And I can kind of see that with myself as well. Like, maybe if I decide, if all of a sudden my collection 10Xs again, I might really think about like, maybe do I have to work every day? Maybe not. Maybe I can make this my full-time job and figure out how to, really create that freedom that I want for myself in my life and then leverage my collection and have fun while I'm doing it. I remember being on a plane going to Portland and the guy next to me is, talking about, I got those Air Jordans, whatever. And he's talking about them being like, $15,000. And I'm like, what's going on? What are you doing? I was just curious. And he's like, oh yeah. I'm a sneaker broker. Like he goes and like buys these sneakers, flies places, picks them up, negotiates, make sure they're authenticates them, make sure they're real, and then hustles them and sells them. So like, we don't even know the careers that we can get here with VV just yet, especially with our experience and we're OGs. Like we were talking about, we were joking about being advisors, but that could be a serious thing, right? Because if you're thinking about investment funds and they're going to come in and make big positions, they're going to want to know right away, why, when, how, like how much,
right?
What's it worth? What's this mint worth? Like what, give us some conviction. Like, what do we do? Right? Like they're going to want some advice.
Right.
And so I see that. I see, people, as community grows to 10X again, by 10X community 10Xs, which means we got 10 million people on the app, right? And they're going to look for people to look up to learn from, to understand what I need to go to VV school, right? I need to get an education on this, because if I'm going to go drop 30, 40, 50 G's, right? And I'm going to make some plays, I need to understand what the heck I'm doing. At this point, that's some serious money for people, right?
Right.
And so I think there's lots of opportunities. And then the creators, right? The content creators, I want someone to pimp out my plays. I don't want to do all the work. That's a pain in the butt to like drag and drop stuff. And, yes, I built like a Dragon Girl pyramid. And I think I've done some videos where I'm just like messing around with, music and stuff and recording that and just having fun, right? And some of these mobile apps. But, the whole idea here is like, there's going to be professions, right? And there's going to be people that you can go hire to go design your showroom. You can buy their templates. I see this coming. Like I see it all coming. You can go, you want to go get married in the VVverse. You want to get married in the Disneyland VVverse, which I'll speculate is coming, or something like it. Or if it doesn't come, then people will make it happen. Just like with VR chat, people are making it happen, and they're all meeting up and doing these VV group meets. And I think that's the other aspect that people underestimate. That's probably the most powerful of VV is the people, right? So the people really make up the community, and the community is so strong, and they look out for each other. And on spaces, we're talking to each other, and they get to, they protect each other like family, right? They're looking out for each other like, hey, don't fall for that scam, or don't listen to that guy who doesn't have any experience, right? Like, that guy's just a talking head or on YouTube, not you, but like other people may be like that, right? So, I think that that's that community aspect, where people are coming together and we all have a common goal. We can all make it together, right? We can all hit that goal together in our own ways. So just because you don't have, 100 Todds or something doesn't mean that you can't go make a move right now, right? So, everyone has a play for their own, investment level, or their own, purchasing level. And so I think that that's what's really cool. The community comes together and supports each other. New members come up online on spaces. New members look at your videos. New members, are going to watch this video, right? And they're going to understand like, oh, how do I do this? Or even existing people that are like, I put 10 grand in, but I'm not really sure right now. I don't know, do I keep going? Do I stop? And that's really a choice, a decision that people have to make on their own. But if they decide to keep going and saying, I'm going to go ahead and double down, I'm going to put another 10 in, then, you need to go to school, right? You need to do your research, and you need to and treat it as such, because that's your money. Like, that's yours. And do you want it to double or triple or 10x? It's possible on VV. It's proven.
It is.
So, I've never seen gains like this. Like, just look at Todd. Look at from $80, $79.99 to where he's at now. And people resisted because he was more expensive. They're like, oh, Rizzo was $59.99. Some of the other characters were cheaper, right? And they're like, if you bought Rizzo $59.99, like, congrats, right? And if you have one, congrats. And if you have 5 or 10, wow, you're in a spot, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that there's something for everyone. And that's what's amazing about VV, like this 252 drop, if you got it, if you somehow got it, great. The system's going to change again. We're going to go to lottery mode. I still see us in accumulation mode, meaning look for opportunities to keep accumulating in your positions. These are future stacks that you'll be able to parlay or use for other positions. And maybe you don't get the one you want now, but maybe you take something and you double it or triple it, and then, or 5x it, who knows? And then you make your move later, because some of the things will top out, right? Like we see Walt just chilling at 13K, and I'm like, okay, he should be 25 if the Spidey Secret Rare is at 50.
That's what I thought too. I always thought at least, one Spidey would be worth 2 Walts. So I think now it's catch up time, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And that's an opportunity for people that think that, right? Like that say, okay, for me, I made my positions, I've made my bets already, I got my low mints, and I might add another one in a trade, or might do something, but that's like upside for me at this point, right? Like, I'm like, okay, yeah, if I'll add a 9th partner, sure, or go for something if it makes sense for me. But I don't need to like FOMO into anything. I don't need to like make any extreme moves, because at this point, like my bets have been made, and so far they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, and I just want to harp on partner as well for a second, because I remember you and I were talking at the time, and you were like, listen, I'm I got to get these partners because they're key. I remember we had that conversation, and it's very accurate, because when we look at Disney being a $320 billion industry, and I'm like thinking about partner kind of being the embodiment of Disney completely. Like we had Pixar, we had Marvel, we had all these different things, but that to me falls under that partner statue. Like that is the king of that whole entity there. And with Mickey Mouse being the FA, and I don't know if you saw that, but DB did confirm that on Twitter. They're like, yeah, because Steamboat came out and everybody's like, oh, is this FA Mickey for Steamboat? Right. And then VV just said right on it, they said, no, partner is Mickey FA. So you
remember that, yeah.
Mickey.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, it's just like, I know it's 4,033 mints, but like, again, world context, Disney partner statue that's visited by hundreds of millions a year. That's not an exaggeration.
If you think one whale has 200, right? And I'm hodling, 8, and someone else is hodling 5 or 10. So then you start doing the math, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. How many individual sets, how many individual people could actually hold this?
Right. Not many.
And people are sitting on that opportunity. And not everyone can get there, but people can, right? They may not want to sell it, they may not want to make certain sacrifices, but I agree that partner statue is epic. Worldwide, the moves we make now will make us rock stars later, right? Like literally, like this, we may be looking back 2 years, 3 years from now, going, you had a chance to get a partners for 10 grand or 13 grand or whatever, and you just were like speculating, like, oh, will it keep going, right? And I say that because we have to start thinking about the future. The whole reason why you're buying into this in the first place is you're hoping for appreciation, right?
Right.
And so as you're hoping for appreciation and utility, then or even significance, right? That's another factor. So like if all of a sudden, like your video where you're talking about Walt, Elsa, and the hat being connected, right?
Yeah.
Which is a really good video. People should watch that. You should post that and put that video link in this chat or this description. But like that's a really good one because yeah, there is a scalpel in Elsa's right shoe.
Yeah.
There is a story that you talked about. I mean, tell us about it. Refresh us right here, because that's an important.
Yeah. So basically, when we look at like, I think it was like Elsa, it was sculpted by the same person that was working on the Fantasia movie as well, and then it was using the pen. I forget exactly the whole story, to be honest. Now that I start thinking,
not Elsa, but the Walt statue was
the Walt statue.
Yeah,
exactly, sculpted there. Yeah. And then I forget exactly what the Fantasia aspect was.
Oh, the Fantasia aspect was the way that Mickey was putting his hand out.
You got it.
They had to study it for the partner statue, right?
That's right. So this exactly. So Elsa has it on her foot. Then, like you said, the Fantasia hat was they had to use Mickey's hand in order to know how to sculpt the partner statue. So those three, like for any crazy Disney collector, that's going to be key. Like that'll be their grail items in 5 years from now. Like they will come in and try to flip up to that.
I mean, there's golden moments in the park right now. My family is in the park at Disneyland, and they show me Steamboat Willie next to golden moment Mickey.
Wow.
Right. And so like there's golden moments in the park right now. People are taking pictures right now. People are making moments and memories right now. Right. And do we think that, the customer Disney base that goes to parks, they're more and more affluent, right? So you see the price of tickets go up, the price to go to Disneyland costs more and more and more, yet Disney's making more and more money. And they're having these extreme experiences like these hotels. I think the Star Wars hotel they're doing, right, where you can go get the Star Wars experience and you can like literally get your costume and like dress up and be like, okay, yeah, I can look out the deck and you're looking into space. I mean, I can't wait to try this out, dude.
I know.
And take my family, like, all right, you guys get your costumes. We were all going to be like, I don't know, something. Yeah. And we play our Star Wars game, right, in real life for like 2 or 3 days or something. Wow. And we hang out with our Veve friends and we do like a bunch of geeky VR stuff or whatever. And people look at us like we're crazy, but we're like, hey, we do it in the best place in the world, right? Yeah. And Disney's curating these experiences, right? Like the Thanksgiving Macy's Thanksgiving parade, right? Did you see that?
I did. Yeah.
You saw the VR, the Facebook Disney connection, and you saw the ship come over and they were battling it out. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that and I have a Twitter post. I mean, I'm tweeting a lot lately, but there's a Twitter post that my sister-in-law put up there, and it was about Disneyland creating these 3D projectors where they're projecting digital images like without glasses. Wow. So the technology is getting there where like, what if I could scan my NFT and all of a sudden, boom, R2D2 rolls up and I have like a special experience on this ride because I have the NFT, right? Like what if I was Disney and I'm catering to this more affluent crowd, I'm catering to these people that are spending more and more in Disneyland, and I don't care about quantity at this point, I care quality, right? Then and experiences, and that's what people really value is these experiences. Then why wouldn't I add utility, right, to these things and like just build the hype, right? And it all focuses around their characters, and they just want attention on these characters, and they want to control the narrative, of course, but they want attention on these characters and experiences. So I think that's something that people aren't even factoring in at all. I mean, I am, but I mean, who's talking about this? Like, am I the only one talking about it? Are we the only ones talking about it?
Very few, but you're right. And I mean, like, this is what I'm really thinking is going to happen is that one day we're going to get this major announcement that we're going to be like the official brand partners or something like in Meta or something like that. Like our the IP from Veve will be potentially interoperable and be like used.
Why would it?
Why wouldn't it be? Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like why? Like it's pretty clear there's a big rollout. I mean, obviously Veve had to build up the technology. We heard Dan talk about how he grew the engineering team to 30 people or 35 or something like that on the AMA yesterday. I think people really need to understand that the work it takes to do the engineering part of this, like what they're doing is really, really, really hard, right? Especially to make it customer friendly, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing hiccups, right? Like the Mermicorno drop where series 2, where like, no one can sell anything, right? And people are like, oh, Layla's worth, this or whatever.
Yeah.
And people think they're going to get rich, or hopefully nobody bought an overinflated Mermicorno.
They did. There was a guy that supposedly spent like 11 grand on Mermicorno and on Facebook, and he was like, it's like I lost like 11,000 because he was new, and I think he thought they were like super limited or something, so he was buying them all up.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh for that loss, but like I think that Veve needs to kind of think about this a little bit differently. If this happened with Steamboat Willie as well. What we saw Steamboat Willie open up at 2.5 or whatever it was, and then it kept rising because the supply wasn't available, right? So people couldn't get their stuff on the market, so the supply kept rising, and then people automatically thought, oh, this is just like partners. This is going towards partners, and then people like FOMO'd in, and then it went to 5.6 or whatever. And I did buy stuff at the higher, but I bought lower mint, so I was like mint hunting essentially. And I'm comfortable with my position. Like I get what was going on. And so then you see kind of this, like, you see a supply of steamboats go from 500 down to 400 down to 300, and then the supply starts going back up, right? So everyone that got what they wanted got what they wanted in the 24 to 48 hours afterwards. And then now it's at 500 plus on the market. And people are upset. Oh, I can't make moves because my steamboat's not moving, or our partners isn't moving, so I'm stuck in this thing, and and so I think that's an opportunity. But my point is, like, yeah, the market's, I think that Veve should look at that and say, you know what, somehow notify the buyer that the liquidity isn't there yet, right? Like the pieces, there's only 5 available because only 5 were delivered, or only 15 were delivered, or whatever that. Like some kind of warning, like, hey, FYI, less than 5% have been delivered on the market. I think we'll see more of that, because we don't want new users to get burned like that. That's not a situation that Veve is about. That's not the integrity that they're building.
Yeah,
it happens. They need to work on it. The marketplace needs a lot of work, and that's another reason why, like, I haven't sold one comic book, right? Like, I've listed a couple at the Flex, but I haven't sold one comic book because the market is not user friendly, right? So if I don't even want to spend a lot of, and they've improved the time in the comic book section, right? Like, they've improved the experience, but even now it's still kind of like too much and overwhelming. And how do I, they're talked about improving the viewing of it. So why would I sell into that? Like, I'm invested, so like it's cool. Like, I don't need to sell anything on the comic books, right? Like, I'm good, and I'll let that appreciate. And I think there's opportunities there too. And we've seen, like, Marvel's one ultra rare, I think it's at 4,000 now.
Oh, is that what it's at now?
Was at 1 it was 1.2 not that long ago, right? So
exactly, and those are some perfect examples, right? Of like, so and then it's like, okay, well, what's next? If Marvel 1 SR goes to 70K, well, then what's FF4 gonna do? Number 1, right? Which is according to Comics and Crypto and a few others, is right under that, right? So it's like, these are easy enough calculations to make. If Marvel 1 goes to 100K, then things should rise with it. So it's like, like anybody that's thinking logically can kind of start seeing these patterns, right?
Yeah, and the markets are different for comics versus collectibles, right? So the way that I've identified with comics, and other people, this is not just my idea. This is kind of like, being in spaces and consensus and talking to people. So credits due where credits due. There's experts out there now that are giving advice, right? Like, just, I won't name any of them, but they're out there. Join the spaces. So with comics, they tend to push up, meaning, obviously people go for the secret rare. Once the secret rare gets, out of range, right, then they focus on the common. And the regular user comes in for the common, and then pushes up, right, towards the more rare, right, toward all the way to the ultra rare, and then back up to the secret rare. So I think that, like, with Marvel's 1, the common at 200 gems, I don't know what's that right now, but at 200 gems, it's like a scoop, right? Like, I need more gems personally as well, right? Like I'm NFT rich. So, it's like, but that's an opportunity, right? For someone like you said earlier. And I think with the collectibles, it's kind of the opposite where it pushes down. So people want the most rare, I want the partner statue, and then I'm going to go find all the golden moments, right? But I'm going to get the partners because that's key. And then when partners gets out of range, then I'm going to focus on the subsets and go for Star Wars or go for, this or go for that, and then build my collections that way. But that once partners is out of range for most, they're not going to be able to complete that set, right? So it's going to be challenging, right? Even if they, even if their other stuff appreciates, those other things will push up the partners, right? At the end of the day, because that's the most rare, that's the key of the set. And even though Veve doesn't show it as a complete set, like in the app, it is, in my opinion, considered by collectors a set, right? If you're a collector, you're like, these are all golden, these are all the same week, right? These were all firsts. These are a set.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I just think that it's interesting. We have opportunities now. I mean, there's opportunities for everyone. I think people need more patience. People need to do more research. People need to realize like what we're looking at. We're just so early. We're so speculative. We want the instant gratification, but how long did I wait for Todd to appreciate before I sold one, right? Like I waited a long time.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing that people need to understand. Like they're coming into a time where like everything's rocketing, but that's not really been the case before. And so we might come to another lull period for 3 months, or like maybe around the summertime where, people are kind of doing their thing and whatever. And then all of a sudden, come September, October, November, things start picking up. And then by January next year, we're at that 10X that you're talking about now, or, Top's going for $37,000 and, whatever's happening. Right. So it's like, I think patience is key. And I think patience is also a nice thing because it goes to show you that if you just stay convicted that, it will appreciate over time. Like, how could it not be? We're in a closed container with the best and biggest brands in the world. And the cash out's, like we talked about, probably likely going to be $500 a day. So if you have $1 million in gems, it'll take you 7 years to cash out.
I mean, people need to be realistic with that. And I think there's people speculating and fudding that, MTL comes, everything goes down. What they're not realizing, there's a lot of people that, when they're waiting for MTL to provide validation for Veve, right? They're saying, hey, this is a scam, you can get your money out. But as soon as they allow you to take $2,500 a week out, then all of a sudden Veve is legitimate and it's a good investment, right? Like what? Like why would you wait for that moment to start investing, right? Like you'd get ahead of the curve if you were investing in Veve at all, right? So I think that's the thing is, like following the herd is another thing, and listening to what people say. I think coming up with your own opinions and doing your own research is really, really important, and sticking to your conviction. I mean, that really is important because, crypto's a crazy place, man. Stuff goes up and down 50%. Like in the last month, I think, or month and a half, my portfolio has doubled almost, right? So like, how is that, like, should I be FOMOing something? No, look, like that. Nothing's happened. I'm like, nothing has happened. Right. Literally nothing has happened. Like they've released a couple of drops. There's no extra utility. There's no extra, yes, we finished immutable. That was a big deal, right? But we're still in that transition phase. I don't see any ETH wallets connecting up, buying anything off stores, anytime soon. So like, nothing's happened. People are just positioning, right? And more users are coming in. I think with was it Marvel or Disney? I think Disney Week is bringing in like, I don't know how many, the user count was high.
100,000 or something a day, if I'm not wrong. Like it was
that much. Holy crap!
During Disney, like I think now David said
20 to 30,000 is what I heard last.
30,000 a day. Yeah.
Which, I mean, just start doing the math, right? Compound that, and then compound it with the people that looked at this project before and understood what it was, decided to go into other NFT projects, made some money, and then now they go, okay, I want to get back in, but I don't want to go through the hassle of converting and buying gems and doing all this. So they're just waiting for the ETH wallet to connect up. I'm not saying that's going to be a huge pump, but it's going to be a pump of some sort and some validation for the people that have been calling us not NFTs for a long time, right? And we've all known, just because we couldn't. I mean, I think that was fair. We can't see it on the blockchain. We got to trust Veve. They're the central authority situation, but in the same way, they're protecting these users as well. Because like, are you going to just let your family that knows nothing about crypto go set up a MetaMask on their own and go like try to transfer an NFT and then maybe get burned because they didn't pay enough gas fee? And then like, there's so many situations where you can just screw yourself. You can just literally lose money on gas fees, right?
and it's happened to me 1,000 times. Like I
Yeah.
can't tell you the amount of things I've done in crypto where somebody sends me like wrapped Binance coin, and I take like 4 to 5 hours to figure out how to get it out, what exchange I need to use.
Yeah.
Need to go for 4 conversion processes. So you're right, like it's a huge ordeal, right? And the other
Yeah.
thing that I find funny is like when people talk about the MTL, it's like, do you think that there would be somebody that can sign with Disney, Marvel, all these super amazing brands, and then be like,
A scam.
Disney, Marvel, like scam the world? Like, come on. Like, what are you
Yeah.
thinking, man? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's a great point. I mean, think about it. Like, yeah, common sense in the business world. Like, just start thinking about it. And like, I think the other argument, I mentioned this guy at the comic store who was like, oh, like it's just corporate greed and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, they got shareholders, man. Like, do you understand how the business world works? Like, there's a reason why you're selling all these toys here, and there's a reason why you're selling all these comics. And if you look at the Todd McFarlane interview, which was pretty cool, the one he did recently with a member of our community.
oh, the Dan Schwaba?
Yeah, the Dan Schwab interview. That was actually really good. And shout out to Dan for bringing up Veve and promoting.
He's amazing, by the way.
Yeah, he's done a good job.
Yeah.
And so you look at that interview, and Todd talks about how the comic book space is really kind of dominated by by essentially Marvel and like DC, and like then he's like, if you're 123rd or something, you're good enough, right? Like to get acquired, or like just kind of the whole dynamics of how the comic space works. And so I think that's the other thing is really, what I really heard was how powerful these companies are in the space, right? And when I go to any playground, I got these kids, I look at the dads, what are they wearing? Like, Spider-Man, Batman, the kids are wearing it. I'm like, yeah, my IP is being promoted. Like, people are wearing this, people are buying this stuff and putting it on their bodies.
Yeah.
And they're getting tattoos, and they're, doing all this stuff, and there's hardcore fans, right? And they have no idea Veve exists.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And it's like it only takes, another like 10 to 15 million people to really catapult these investments to that next phase. And we've seen multiple phases, right?
Yeah.
But it's like the next one is where I would say, yeah, it's too bad you didn't get it early, because right now it's still manageable. You can get a Superman, you can get a Batman, but like, that next phase when it's $20,000 plus, now you can still probably make things happen, but it's no joke at that point for an initial.
And people can keep fighting it all they want, but like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I believe in Veve. Veve hasn't done anything to show me that they don't have 100% integrity. The companies that are validating them, right? I support those companies. I get it. I have had Disney stock. I don't have Disney stock right now because it went into Veve, but I've had Disney stock, and I was a Disney shareholder, right? So I get it. I see what Facebook's doing in the physical world. I'm excited to see the connections between the digital and the physical. It'd be fun to play a game with you someday, right? Like where you're sitting across and we're just wearing our AR glasses, and I see you digitized right in front of me, right? And we're playing chess or whatever. And, I'm playing, you on my couch next to me, and I'm on your couch next to you. And, like, that's not that far fetched. It really isn't. And that's the kind of experience that people remember. It's immersive, and that's where we're headed. And that's what this IP, is, right? This is the kind of stuff that you're going to bring and share. Maybe I'll just be like, hey, check this out. I just show an NFT to you right there, and you're like augmented reality.
I can
right?
see it. I can feel it, even touch it. Like, who knows where we're going, right?
Is it that hard to fathom? I mean, it's not that hard to fathom. The technology is there. The headsets are like where laptops were, where they were $300, right? So I think that we're going to see the acceleration because of COVID, because of quarantine, because people still need that social aspect. And that's something that I don't think people are really factoring into this. And they also think, oh, what about interoperability? Interoperability, that's another argument, right? I hear all the time. And interoperability is important. But I see someone like Meta making a protocol, supporting it just like they did with authentication, right? You saw Meta do that early on. It was all this controversy. Oh, I can use my Facebook account, on this website, and authenticate. Not everyone does it every day. Like, thank God, I don't have to create another username and password.
Yeah.
Right. I have this global identity, right? Or this ability to use my Facebook identity to authenticate to multiple places. And so, that is, I mean, it just all makes sense to me. And maybe I just geek out too much about this and I think about it too much, but it's all coming together, and we just happen to be lucky and happen to be in the right spot, happen to find Veve, and happen to have the experience in BOGs and hustling.
Yeah.
And it's for anybody that wants to come in and wants to do the work. And I think, yeah, you can get lucky, but if you do the work, the way my saying is, luck is when opportunity and preparation come together, right?
Oh, cool.
So, you gotta do the work, you gotta be ready, and then, you're gonna get lucky. People are gonna look at me and say, oh, you were lucky because you were early. Well, there's a lot of people that were early that bought Todd's, but they didn't keep them, right?
That's
So, I
right.
mean, it's
Myself included. And most people I don't think did. Like I'd say probably like there'd only be maybe 25% of people that actually I think like kept a few. And I think a lot of them were in big positions and sold off because they didn't wait long enough. They
a
just
lot of putting,
yeah.
FOMOing into other projects, and a lot of people did well, right? A lot of people did well in Bored Ape. A lot of people did well in other projects,
Yeah.
And congratulations, right? I did, and I stayed focused. Yeah, missed opportunities, but at the same time, I am in other projects, right? Some smaller projects, nothing major, but most of my focus is all on Veve, and I believe that's important as well to focus, because if you don't focus and you don't understand what you're buying or selling, then you then doubt yourself, and usually your own instincts are the best, and no one can come tell you. I'm not going to come tell you what to do with your stuff. You know what to do with your stuff, but you're only going to know what to do with your stuff if you've really done the research and done the homework, and you're convicted, right?
Right.
And you need to do your own like I spent hours and hours and hours watching YouTube videos for a long time, and now I just kind of limit my videos to like watching your channel, watching a few other channels, but it's like I go on spaces, right? I socialize with them. I listen to what's going on. I understand the pulse of the market, right? That's important, especially with me in my position, right? I need to understand the pulse of the market, because this is a big investment for me. So I want to make sure that I'm on top of it. And this is my future retirement, essentially.
Amazing. Unbelievable. Man, I can't thank you enough, for coming on the channel again. And like everybody, like I said, loves you, man. I mean, it's amazing to see how big your social following has grown as well, like on your Twitter and Discord.
After that video, dude, I think I jumped like, I don't know how many followers. I think I tweeted you. I'm like, oh, all of a sudden I got like hundreds of extra followers. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Right. I mean, the biggest thing for me is like, your voice needs to be heard. I think you offer so much value to people, and it's important. Like, I feel like you're actually really kind of altruistic in this. Like, we're really giving people the knowledge to make calculated decisions now. Like, it's not like we're hiding anything. There's nothing that's in a closed box, right? It's not like, guess what, go get Lumpy Space Princess or whatever. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, and even who knows, that might even skyrocket soon enough.
It will. It's a season one. I mean, as much as we make fun of Lumpy, right? Like, I still have some lumpies, right? Because I have low mints, right? So I have like these 400, 500 mint lumpies or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not going to sell these right now. This market, like, I look at each individual collectible and go, is this sellable or floorable, or is this, can I get the value? And I think I put up a Jake the dog and I sold it for like 666 gems because it was a lower mint. I'm like, wow, that was quick. So like, did I understand that market? Did someone know it better than me? Did someone just love Jake? Was someone looking for the mint? So many questions to be had, right?
Yeah. It's so cool that you say that, because the reason I always joke around Lumpy Space Princess is my brother one day, I forget what it was, but he sold off like a Batman, like a low mint Batman for like the Lumpy Space Princess. And I remember dying because at the time we just thought like that was the silliest decision ever, right?
Right.
The value, the market was valued, but I think he actually had the last minted Lumpy Space Princess, 32.
Oh wow, that's valuable.
Very valuable. But again, because back then you're trying to build leverage, that was a piece that he couldn't just put aside and hold till now. It was like, okay, how do I flip this quick at the time? So, but go back to what you're saying, like finding those special things, and if you do find them, holding onto them for the long term too.
Yeah, I mean, even as as much as people make fun of Murmur even this Murmur Series 2 set, right? It looks better than Series 1, right? Like I was saying before, that graininess, that gritness of Series 1 stuff is going to stick out even more in the future, which, if you look at CryptoPunks, you look at these early projects, the Ether Rock, all these things, they're valuable. And you're looking at them going, why? But because they're part of history, right? And so season one is part of, Veve history. I think there will come a day where any season one is going to be a grail piece for people, right? For them in their little world. When I say they're little, like, if they're Adventure Time fans, then that Lumpy Space Princess, if you've got a low mint, you're, oh, how'd you get that, right?
Yeah, it's true.
A flex piece, right? In your world. So yeah.
And one last question to you, man. Like, what are the grails in your opinion? Like, if for people coming in, what are like the top 5 to 10 grails you'd say on the app currently? I mean, I know put it this way, I know everybody would, like Reese says, everyone can collect and it would be a grail for them. So it's not like we can say objectively these are the ones, but in your opinion, for people looking at potentially purchasing a Grail. You know, we all know Todd is definitely one, but what are other ones that you think could be considered?
It's a hard question, right? Because it depends on what you like. And I think it's important when you're buying stuff to buy what you like, because you got to hodl it, right? Or you got to sit on it. But for me, and I can share kind of for me and maybe stuff that I missed out on that I should have participated in. So for me, you know, Batman Black and White is a Grail. The whole thing is a Grail, because there's going to be 100 sets. It's going to be epic. You're talking to people that are trying to collect physicals and match them up. They're trying to do all this stuff. They see themselves owning all 100, right? And in the physical world, there's only 3 to 4 known physical matchups of that whole set, right? So it's going to be just as hard. It feels just as hard as probably as it was in the physical world, right? Hard decisions have to be made, right? So I think that set in general is a Grail. I'm just going to loop it all together with Todd and Rizzo and everybody else, right? Obviously, that series 1 set is highly coveted, and we're seeing that kind of pop out right now. I think Spider-Man is a Grail, the collectible, because he was the first Marvel NFT, right? Like he's an epic set. The skin looks the same across the collection. The speculation that the common skin is used in all the other skins. Same thing with like like a Dragon Girl, right, situation. So I think that's 2. I think the Marvel Comics #1 and those Fantastic Four and the ASM one, I'll lump those in Grails. You know, those early Silver Age comics, or Golden Age, or just these comics that are early, that you can never get your hands on, that that are important. Again, I'm still learning about comics, so don't quote me on that, but I'm just saying, like, the Marvel one is obviously being hodled and hoarded. Make a move and get a few of those, at least, in my opinion. I think that Givenchy is a really interesting one. I have a lot of friends. I don't have a Givenchy position, because I that day decided to spend time with my family. Of all days, I'm like, I don't know how to do this drop. I'm good. And I saw it climb, and I'm like, oh, it's too expensive. And then Ray Fixie started pumping it, and then it was like, okay, this is out of control. So, but I think that that's an interesting set, especially for the more the higher end collectors that come into the market, that want that, they want to be connected to Louis Vuitton, which is, Givenchy is a Louis Vuitton company, and they want that clout, and they want the first NFT. And then you also have the Pride thing associated with that, because it is a Pride NFT, right? So you just have a lot of factors in that one, and specifically the video, right? The remind me what the name of that NFT is.
Which one are you referring to? Like,
say again?
Like with Givenchy, you're saying?
Yeah, Givenchy, yeah, the main one, right? The
like Pride, you're saying?
Yeah, Pride, exactly. That's what it's called, Pride. So I think that piece is a standout. And then for number 5, I mean, there's so many good toss-ups there. I think that, well, in my case, I said, okay, I'll make a position in Storm. That was more like market opportunity, than saying that this is the Grail or anything. But Superman sticks out for sure. I did sell my position out of Superman because I was going into partners, but like, I guess that's it's probably number 5 actually for me is Golden Moments, right? As a set. Steamboat Willie, I'll squeeze in there too, as being pretty epic. But partners as a golden set, to be able to complete that set, is a pretty big accomplishment. So my advice to collectors is, like, try to focus in on something and make a position on something that you love, that you're going to hodl, right? Like, if you're a Disney fan, then why wouldn't you complete a Golden Moment set if you have the ability to do that right now? If you think it's out of your range, then maybe you collect a subset of it, or maybe you do something, but try to work your way towards one of those sets. If you're a Batman fan, well, why wouldn't you collect the Batman Black and White? And it's a pretty universal. I've noticed it's a universal, global brand where people from the UK love it, people from the US love it. It's like this thing, and it's where Disney is sort of like good and lovely. Batman Black and White is kind of like dark and grind, kind of like this opposite, right? Where it's sort of like the Microsoft versus Apple situation, where it's like, well, when Microsoft was on top, people were like, no, well, I'll go with Apple because they're like the underdog, right? Like they're not as hyped up, right? And so is it, now maybe opposite, but it's sort of the same thing where pick something that you love, and it is very liquid. You're talking to someone that's floored some stuff and made some moves, right? So I know how liquid it is, and people are looking for those, right? People are trying to buy those sets. So I mean, there's so much other good stuff on the app. I feel like it's a disservice to like some of this other stuff, but of course, the Mooglies and the Donnies. I mean, I'm not going to talk about those because those are out of reach for most. But I mean, I have a platinum Moogly, I have a gold Moogly, right? Those are going to be flex pieces. You have 200 platinum Mooglies, you have 188 gold Mooglies, and people are talking about, like, these comic books like the Hit Monkey and all these other things. But like, those Mooglies have, like, the gold Moogly is the first secret rare, and it's has all these stature things, right?
That's
That are
right.
pretty epic when you realize how many. If you get 10 million users, then you have to calculate how much money has been spent in VV.
Mhm.
And then there may just be VV history collectors, right? Like, we don't even know. There may be new collectors just for VV.
That's right.
And like, those pieces are like, like, they want to get a piece from someone famous, or they want to do something or make a move, right? Like, so there's going to be people that are collecting just the VV history pieces, right? And so we get enough people that do that with money, and it's just kind of a natural market where it'll just lift up by itself.
Unbelievable. Wow. I feel like you need to do like a speech or something for VVs. Every time I'm with you, I just learn so much. I'm glad I have this video that I could look back on now. But man, what a pleasure. I mean, I think we chatted for, let me check the time here. I think we chatted for over 2 hours. So
Nice, dude.
yeah. And I mean, I could chat for another two, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can't wait for VVCon when we can do that, whether it be virtual or physical, and we can go hang out and
yeah,
high five and all that, or
dude,
fist bump and get together. But yeah, it's quite the journey. I mean, VV's been part of my life now, right? So
exactly. Like, I've got a keychain of VV, like, VV is
dude, you got a light next to you. What are you talking
yeah,
about?
that's what I'm saying. True. Like, I didn't even
I got a keychain. You
yeah.
got a big ass light right next to you.
And dude, check this out, man.
Oh wow. Is that the comic your brother gave you?
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty cool, right? I mean, I'm starting to get into this a lot now. So I'm like, I'm starting to I'm making trips to the comic store a lot, which I never did before. I'm looking even at potentially getting a statue. Yeah.
There you go. We'll flex.
Oh, look at
There's the Babs Tar, right? She's a character on VV.
that.
And she's an artist as well, right? And so I got the signed by her, signed by the
Oh, let's
the
see. We
author.
got a few of them in the back there, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Here's another one. I think I showed these last time too, but like,
So cool, man.
yeah, I got the statues. We're finding matches online with people. I mean, we're so early, man.
I know, man. I'm really thinking about the HQ19. I'm thinking of getting that one.
Yeah, she's showing some life lately.
Yeah, yeah. I just think it's just one of those pieces, like, 500 editions. It's just like so epic. And like season one, oh, look at this. There it is. Yeah, crazy. Wow.
But yeah, this is the mint I found a match for with Claire.
Look at that. 374. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, no, you're right. Harley Quinn 19 is badass in my opinion. Luckily, I got one. I did overpay early. I think I spent like 7K in crypto at the time for my 19, and they were controlled, right? Because they were bought out early by the OGs, and they were like, hey, we're not gonna floor all these. So it wasn't cheap, especially to complete that set.
Man, and I mean, I'm just thinking about a small little exclusive club now around HQ19 too. Like, what I mean? There's some things that even if it hasn't popped, it's still good. Anything's a good investment right now.
I mean, you see Lewis Morgan, he did an awesome job. I love his Discord. I can jump in every now and then. Yeah. It's hard because there's so many Discords out there, but he's got a really good one. He brings community together. And he's got in his Discord, like, if you own a piece and you're authenticated to own that piece, then there's a special chat just for, the Todd holders, for example, or just for, the grail, certain grails that he wanted to pick. So, I mean, I think that's really cool, right? That's where it's going.
Freaking great. Well, thanks again, my man. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to see where we're at, and I'm excited to see where it's going. But yeah,
weird. It's just a few months since we did that last interview. I mean, it feels like a whole different world, man.
Yeah. Man, if I would have known, I would have like remortgaged my house last month, And
you and me, man. I would have been like, let me shove more in.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Guy. Well, thank you so much, and yeah, look forward to having this uploaded. And hey, I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, this is great. Now I've getting a lot of people like pushing me to do more content. So thanks for inviting me in again, and looking forward to seeing it online and sending it out to everyone. So
perfect, man.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.